off the ground. Let gravity take me up. As beautiful as it's been, it's time for me to go. I wanna sail away, I wanna feel the weightlessness of my soul. I've gotta go all the way to eternity. I will run all the way to see you. I've gotta go all the way through time and space to find my voice, to see you. And I'll go. Lift my feet off the ground, let gravity take me up. As beautiful as it's been, it's time for me to go. I wanna sail away, I wanna feel the weightlessness of my soul. I've gotta go all the way to eternity. I will run all the way to see you. I've gotta go all the way through time and space to find my voice, to see you. And I'll go. Off the ground, let gravity take me up. As beautiful as it's been, it's time for me to go. I wanna sail away, I wanna feel the weightlessness of my soul.
It is time for the penultimate week of action here for the Newell League of Legends Spring Split. I'm Stanley Greyheart Barker. As always, delighted to be joined by Alex Nymera Hopgood.
Oh, for gosh sake. That's certainly a name I've had before, I suppose. I'm absolutely delighted to be here as well, Stan. I've got a best of 3 tonight, so we get to see a bit more of the same teams on the Rift, and this is a monolithic matchup for the Newell scene.
That is certainly a word. Let's have a little look at the standings, see where we are as we get ready for next week's grand final. We can see that the match that we're going to be watching is just before that grand final, the upper bracket finals between Cabbage Family and Bristol Whip. Both of these teams coming in as the top 2 seeds to the playoff season. Down below, you can see Surrey Stags will be facing off against DMU T1, with the winner of that match facing the loser of the match we are covering tonight, and then the winner of that match going on to the grand finals to face the winner of this match. You know what I'm talking about, right, Nymera?
Yes. I absolutely understand everything that's going on. But yes, basically, if you succeed today, you set yourself up for success. This will be the last best of 3 for the winner of this matchup between Cabbage Family and Bristol Whipped. They'll go into a best of 5 for the grand finals. That's the big fish. That's the one where, you know, anything can happen in that kind of format. Lots of adaptation. That we'll be seeing a bit of a sneak peek at that today.
Cabbage Family and Bristol Whip both putting themselves in a position where they are one best of 3 from having that 50% chance of securing themselves that opportunity to go and play at UEM, which is obviously such a fantastic event, and so many other wonderful prizes that come along with being the winner of the spring split here on the Newell. Great stuff we're going to be seeing tonight. This is not the first time these two teams have faced off this season. We have to go all the way back to week number 4 to round 9 of the round robin format for the last time Cabbage Family faced Bristol Whip. How did that one go, Alex?
So, we weren't casting that one, so we had to go do our homework. We went and looked at the replay, and in the words of Chen Sang, who we were messaging just to check that they were okay to be on stream tonight, it was a bit of an embarrassment. It was on stream, and they got crushed. And it wasn't just getting crushed, because Evan and Godonica have been probably the strongest topside Newell has seen for, or maybe ever. That's how strong these two players are. They've been picked up in UKLC teams before, played in various other tournaments, gone on to do much more League of Legends within the scene. And that was a game where Evan was on Jax. They split push 1v1 champion versus a Camille, very strong, but Jax is considered a counter, and they went 0-6. Godonica didn't really fare much better, going 1-7. This was a game where Cabbage Family showed that they did have what it takes to take down the top end of the competition. Yes, they lost the finals last split and went to 3-2 to DMU, but coming into this split, into this match too, I believe they're currently 4-1 against DMU and Bristol Whip combined. They have that winning record at the top end of the table. They're the team to beat, Stan.
Well, you mentioned Camille just a moment ago, and I want to take a pin, stick it in that one, because we're certainly going to be coming back to talking about the Camille later on as we come towards picks and bans. However, one thing which you especially have been touching on as we look towards these two just gigantic teams who, when they match up against each other, make each of them just seem a regular, normal size. When they are facing off against each other, we're talking about two teams here who have real history here in the Newell. They've played together for so many splits.
They have done, and Cabbage Family are a team which we got a love for them here on the Newell broadcast because they've played for, what, a good 2-3 years now. This is their last split together. I think 4 of them live in currently the same gaming house, and this is their very last split together. Heck, we've seen players graduate as part of being part of a university scene. It's ever-changing, transient. People graduate, people leave. And it's sad to see them go, but we celebrate their time here, and we want to celebrate Cabbage Family as they do go into this last Newell split and their last hurrah. On the other side, of course, Bristol Whip, they had to say goodbye to Longstaff at the end of their last year. They brought in Nibble, who has been an absolute phenomenon for them too, but this team, again, will want to really put up one of these last big results, maybe go towards UEM themselves, get into that last chance qualifier and compete with DMU T1 at that stage too. And given the history of both these teams, or given the experience of both these teams, I'm expecting a heavyweight matchup.
I think it's going to be an absolute stormer of a match, so hang on, go get the popcorn and enjoy the game, as we will get into Champ Select for this one just as soon as we can. Looking again towards these two teams, and even looking beyond them towards the potential for UEM, this fantastic tournament where we talk about the University Esports Masters. We've also looked towards some of the teams that are playing there. There's some teams on great form. A German team who were absolutely phenomenal last time round, still looking strong as well.
For sure. So, I mean, both these teams are will have to start ramping up at this point. So DMU, for instance, are already getting their chance at that tournament from Winter. Surrey still in the competition too. They'll be playing in, of course, today too, down in the lower bracket, and the winner of that, of course, sets themselves up for great success. If Surrey do end up taking down DMU, there'll be very close eyes on them too, because they'll, of course, be playing the loser of this bracket. But when you do look at Kid SCY over from the German league coming through in such strong form, that was a team which Bristol Whipped played in the group stage last tournament. They were one, and they went on to win the tournament, only losing 2 games, one to a Tarek E composition and one a bit of a for-fun draft, but it was versus Bristol Whip. So Bristol Whip actually took a really big game in that tournament. And they play through topside too. They play through a very big Fiora player called Gentleman Hero. And of course a jungler too called Striker, who plays stuff like Shyvana and Hecarim. Hecarim now being meta. You look at both these teams and thinking, you need to step up. It's not good enough to be good in the Newell. You have to be great. You have to be something scary, because there are other teams from across the European university ecosystem which are looking at this league saying, what have you got to show us? What have you got to show us you can actually get out of groups for once?
Yeah, well, that's exactly where I was about to go next, because I'm not one to throw shade, especially onto Bristol Whip, who we're about to watch in this game in just a moment. But I think there are a fair few people who, over the last couple of years watching the UK UEM, have found them, somewhat
lackluster, maybe the word.
Lackluster is probably fair. A little bit anticlimactic, not managing to get out of the group stage for a couple of years in a row. We want that to happen, and so when we do end up sending potentially one of these 2 teams, for sure DMU Team 1, out into those matches, we want them to come and we want them to get great results. So definitely hoping they will stand up. We'll turn our attention back away from the future, back onto the present though. Cabbage Family Bristol Whipped. We're coming in about a week and a half or so into a relatively new patch, though. It's not brought that much excitement and that many changes with it.
Well, I mean, there's still some hits, some love taps, some of the bigger champions in the patch, but largely we're going to be seeing similar champions. I mean, I suppose compared to the start split, the Senna's going to have fallen off. Hecarim's been hit a couple of times. Camille on the W, I think, had a couple of nerfs too in the last couple of patches. And again, we'll see if that ends up affecting some of these players more than others. But I don't think it's going to change the way these teams play. Because looking at, so we were just dredging through some of the stats, and personal production, Patrick, also known as Pants, did some great work on the stats just leading into this, and we have the kill spinners for both these teams are first and third at about 0.72. There's only there are 2 teams tied at 0.72, and then Cabbage Family down at 0.71. Their team DPM is at first and second, but they have done their homework too. Their wards clear, their objective percentage is also very high. So what that paints a picture of before you even get into it, just by looking at the numbers and maybe trying to add some character to them, we're expecting a bloody game, but not one without any foresight. And I think that's really the advantage you get from having such experienced, well-synergized rosters. It's not just the skirmish play that we've seen at Heck. Some of the teams which are best at that are like KLS, right? Or formerly Fearless, which skirmish day in, day out. But these teams do that whilst also getting everything to win the mid-game and the macro game off the back of that.
We are in 2 pick and bans. It's going to be Cabbage Family from the University of Kent over on the blue side of the rift. Bristol Whip from the University of Bristol will be on red side. Our first 2 bans are support targeted, with Rel and Seraphim both taken out of the equation. We'll come back to the rest of the bans in just a moment, because I want to just say one final last thing in regards to what you were just saying there in terms of the kill participation these teams have, how bloodthirsty they can certainly be. We had this discussion during one of our little planning meetings earlier in the week. And one of the things that I went to is that I said, well, that's great when you've got that kill participation against some of the teams that maybe haven't done quite so brilliantly during the round robin, haven't been able to perform quite so well in the playoffs. When you come up head-to-head against the other teams that have been doing brilliantly, one of 3 things always ends up happening. Number 1 is neither team changes their style. Ends up in these absolutely manic, wonderfully bloodthirsty matches, which frankly we all love to watch, but can be somewhat
careless. We had that on stream.
Yeah, exactly. They can be somewhat chaotic. They're not always the best macro, but they're exciting for sure. Number 2 is that both of the teams can sort of sit back and go, okay, actually, respect the other team, a bit more defensive, let's go a bit more macro focused, and then sort of we saw this slow build up, no kills until around about 10 minutes, and then eventually someone lights the wick and it just goes skapoosh, which is always exciting when that happens too. The other thing, and the thing which we seem to see quite often between sort of top 4 teams when it happens, is one team sticking to their guns, sticking with the early aggression, and the other team falling back, allowing themselves to be a bit more defensive, a bit more reactionary, a bit more macro-focused. When that happens, it becomes a game of who can do it better. Can we see a team take over an early game, or is it the team that is able to sit back, to scale up, that ends up getting there. We'll keep our eyes on to both of these teams throughout this best of 3 for which of those is going to happen. But now we need to start talking about champions, because we are well and truly into Champ Select. The final bands were the Kate, the Carpus, the Karma, and Udyr. Now we've had picks already. Tristana locked in to go opposite the Sivir. Hecarim locked in for Gadunica.
Yeah. And one of the special things about both these teams is how flexible they are. We know that Cabbage Family have carried through Alpha Moss before. They've played a lot of the Camille course band away, and having the Scion locked in now, that's not going to necessarily be the carry matchup topside. But then they actually got a carry lane now, well, going across that map, because Tristana can be put into mid, can be put into bot too. And on the other side, heck, I mean, QR has played Lethality Sivir mid in a win in the round robin. Viego being locked in. Now, that is something very different, though.
Very, very different indeed. In fact, there's a huge amount of flex potential when I look over towards Cabbage Family. You were touching on Tristana, can go towards mid or ADC. Scion itself can be top or support, even mid on the very odd occasion. Viego.
No banner or commander anymore, luckily.
No, that's true. Viego can fall into any of 3 roles on the sort of the top to the mid side of the map. So there's a huge amount of potential for mixing things around for Cabbage Family. Over on Bristol Whip, things are a little bit more set in stone as we see the Aatrox locked in.
Well, like we said, there is the outside chance this is a Sivir mid. We've seen Dark Harvest with Duskblade and well, like we said, QR has played this before. It has come out at a number of, well, I think that's the only game that's been played from what I saw over the match history is from the entirety of the Varsity bracket. But given that both these teams, you know, that they play a lot of League just day in, day out, week in, week out, there's every chance they've prepped it for this matchup and said, all right, okay, do you mind picking up this pick? Let's see if we can mess around in the Champ Select. Now going into the second round, QR had some massive Orianna plays in this matchup on stream against Bristol Whip, being taken away, Corkin being picked away too, so none of that scaling coming out, well, less of the scaling options being taken into this next phase of the draft by Cabbage Family. On the other side, Chentang, Twisted Fate and Caston, often very regular bans versus this player. It allows them to be very macro-oriented, go into side lanes and have either a teleport or the Destiny and Gate to get into the fight.
Yeah, the Twisted Fate and the Rise, the 2 things that I imagine Cabbage Family would be contemplating banning away, and it is indeed the Rise that's taken away as the last ban, leaving the TF up. Alistair looks like it's going to be the instant lock-in, potentially to go alongside the Sivir on the bottom half of the map. Judging by the way the bans have panned out, I certainly feel like both of these teams are calling the other team's bluff and saying, no, you've locked in your ADC, not your mid laner.
So I wonder if that Viego should have been maybe the Alistair instead, particularly versus the Sivir. You can't spell shield a headbutt pulverize combo from Alistair because you can only spell shield 1 spell because the headbutt going into the pulverize is 2. The spell shield doesn't go through on that. That allows Tristana to have a very aggressive lane. Tristana Taric is also not bad at that. Getting vulnerability, jump forward with a dazzle on you. That is an option.
It is. We'll see whether it is going to end up being Tristana. Taric, I'm still not 100% convinced myself. We've just got a few more seconds left. Cabbage Family are leaving it right down to the dying deaths of Champ Select to show us exactly what's rounding things out. The Twisted Fate, which I almost expected to be banned away from Chentang, has now been picked away from him while still banning the Rise and the Castin. Love this coming from the Cabbage Family.
So I'm just looking through at the picks and bans. Well, Chentang's played TF, I think, twice overall. QR has played it just the once. I might be wrong on that, but they both had it in their champion pools. Giving over Aatrox, though. Not Aatrox, the Azir, another A champion, just the single one on there. Emperor of Shurima. Although it's actually the Annie locked in, I am very surprised that is a thing.
It is.
Is that okay? If that's not the proxy, if that's not the proxy pick, that is a big change. Now we have to wait to see where all of this is being put together. I actually am not sure I've actually ever cast an Annie mid game. The last time I would have seen Annie in competitive, besides, you know, Annie bot over in NA playing solo queue and being a huge one-trick that champion, is Annie support back in Season 4. This has been such a long time since this pick has seen the light of day.
Just let me take over for this one then. Go back to UEM 2019. Belgian Taz, surprisingly, playing for the Belgian team. His favourite pocket pick we got to see at once is the Annie mid. And
true.
We are seeing it here from Chentang. This is not a proxy pick. Do not adjust your null screen, your Twitch screens even. This is for real. Okay, so with that now drafted, I can see a slight amount of bafflement on your face. Either that or that paracetamol's still stuck. Let me know what you think about these 2 comps.
Let me go get another drink of water so I can finally get that painkiller to go down my throat. Okay, so there is a huge amount of X factor to both these teams because you've got massive ultimates to play around. You've got the Taric Cosmic Convergence, you've got the Tibbers from Annie, you've got globals coming in and abilities to cross walls with the stuff like the Hecarim ultimate, kind of following up in play so well. This is not a composition on either side which cleanly fits into a macro or a team fight setting. This is one of those teams, this is one of these team comps from both of these teams really, where you look at them and you say, you'd best be instinctively playing very well today because this is not clear cut. This is exactly what I want to see from both of them though, because it gets to showcase the synergy that these players have built up over their long tenure together.
I'd love to hear your thoughts on it. My gut instinct is when I look at teams who I know can play the macro as well as we both know that both these teams can, who can execute clever picks and global plays. My gut instinct is with things like the Twisted Fate, like having the Scion Ultimate coming through. I like Cabbage Family's picks slightly more in terms of what they can start, what they can engage, and what they can force. But then I look at the team fight potential over on Bristol Whipped, and I'm like, if they hit the call of the hunt for the hunt for Sivir, and they just go for it, and they manage to find the right targets, if Chentang just bops someone with Tivers, that could just instantly win a fight. So I think this is close. Gut instinct, Cabbage Family have the edge for me at the moment. One of the main things I'm going to be looking towards is exactly which build we see on the Hecarim, because we're seeing so much variance between this at the minute. Some people wanting the Hecarim to still have carry potential with a twist, with a Trinity Force or a Sunderer. More and more, however, we're seeing the Chem Tank.
I think that Cabbage Family actually revolve a lot around this Viego, because normally with a TF, you want to be flying off to the sideline and helping someone like a Camille, Fiora, or an Aatrox themselves, right? Fly up there with a gold card and see what you can do in an isolated 1v1 matchup, make the numbers advantage. Scion doesn't give you that kind of damage to follow up on a 2v1. If Aatrox manages to regen, even if you just buy enough time, there is a good chance that someone like a Sivir with an ult popped can make it there. There's a chance that Godinica, who is again one of the premier players that the Newell has produced, can pass there in time. So I look at this instead, so the Scion is not really the key component of this Twisted Fate composition, really. Because you look at the Tristana, they're likely going to be wave clearing until they get to a point where it's actually going into the teamfight phase. So what this means is that actually, it's more like having a Galio on top of your head. Like, I don't know, Katie Rolster back in Season 8 had the Kha'Zix Galio composition. Viego TF, very different, but it's still Battle Ward with this mid laner follow-up with a global composition, right? So the Viego wants to start looking for fights, have that Twisted Fate port in, and maybe they can start taking the map in that style.
Okay, well, with Game 1 about to start up, the question on my lips, and that I'm waiting to hear you answer, Nymera, is who do you think is taking game number 1? And then what do you think the series score is going to be? Early predictions.
Gosh, in this first composition from both these teams, I think that because of the ease of execution from just the vast amount of engage opportunities, I think I actually give it over to Bristol in game 1.
Okay.
In a best of 3, given how Cabbage Family have played in this round robin, on their run of form, their versatility, being able to adapt and show multiple forms of play, that normally benefits you in a best of series where you do get to adapt. I'm going to give it 2-1 over to Cabbage Family, losing this first game though.
Reverse sweep is the opinion of Nymera. Time for you to let us know your opinions over in Twitch chat. I'm hoping that we're able to do our predictions thing where you can go and bet some channel points and say who you are going to be backing in this match. The question, of course, always when it comes to those channel points is, do you back the team you're supporting or do you back the team that's going to win? Well, I know who I'm going to be putting any points I get into. Should I have the opportunity if we get those predictions
Opposite
up?
of what I say.
You know what? It is, yeah, of course it is. So the thing is, like I say, I like Cabbage Families. I feel like it's not an ease of execution, but it is an ease of execution for a team that's as good as this one is.
Yeah.
I think they know when to use Unstoppable Onslaught, to pair it up with a Destiny, to pair it up with an onrushing Viego and a Tristana that's jumping in with Tarakel. I think they're very, very capable of doing that. And I'm not sure that Bristol Whipped are going to have enough tools to deal with that absolute madness as it happens. That being said, I see your point in regards to Bristol. I think they've got real potential. I think this is going to be
just a Civic comp, man. It's just a Civic comp. It's bringing back that old meme.
Reckless being put back on Sivir duty.
Absolutely. And, I mean, between these two AD carries, I mean, Binoxas has been a player which has often been the role player for Bristol Whipped. He's often said, all right, okay, I mean, Chen Sang and Evan, they tend to take on very high playmaking picks, and that means that often Benuxus is often sat playing second fiddle to them. In this game, you have a lot of team utility that you can put across, right? Having that ultimate, having the ability to scale up, be wave clear, be the point of power on the map as you wave clear and shove out. I'm looking to see what Benuxus does and how that unlocks Nibble as well across this map.
Okay, so we are just going to see where these two junglers starting off. We saw Viego able to clear up that early little bit of vision and is going to be able to give over to Cabbage Family a little bit of an advantage in terms of maybe spotting things out from the opposition, or at the very least not being spotted out themselves. Hecarim's going to be starting down the blue side with the duo, and it looks like Viego is just going to solo out the red.
So, mid lane matchup. I think that's the Easter.
I love that pause there. So, there's an Annie mid.
This is the thing. I'm kind of sad. I'm like, all right, okay. What's important to check in on? Because Aatrox into tanks is a good match up top. That's well covered in the last couple of seasons. We've seen a lot of Trist. Sivir will touch on that a bit too. But TF, starting with the E mid allows you to get basically a good amount of DPS at level 1 if you're trading with auto attacks, whilst also not spending any Mariner. It also means that you're not shoving in quite as quickly. But the Annie, if you end up... You just have so much good gank set up with an Annie. The question is, for me, how do you get priority in that mid lane? With that Annie, how are you going to do that? How are you going to control that lane? Because that's going to be so important in controlling where QR feels comfortable going on the map.
Yeah, completely agree with you, because if there is no shove coming through from the TF, there's no opportunity to use that definitely effectively. That will definitely make the impact of the Twisted Fate so greatly reduced. Down the bottom side of the map, we see the early level 2 hit by Greg's and mostly Grumpy, but they are taking the worst of the trades, courtesy of a few boomerangs from Benuxus.
So this is going to be crit. So it's not going to be Dog Harvest, not going to be any of that lethality shenanigans, so none of that poke coming out from that sense. So now we'll have to see, of course, what's going to happen in that 2v2, because it is the early shove from Tristana, but the kill pressure is not really easy onto this 2v2. You can spell shield the bomb, you see when it's ticking down, you can see when the last auto flies into, if that's going to be the thing which pops it. Plus, you don't really want to jump on top of an Alice. You get pulled out the air and things get dangerous from that point onwards. So this 2v2, I'm not realistically seeing any kill pressure coming in from it, particularly because of the defensive nature of Taric 2. So that, again, leads us to what's going to happen with these solo lanes. What's going to happen particularly with this Viego? We've seen so sparingly little of it. Of course, not enabled in the top major competitive regions across the world too, because of the amount of bugs on it. So actually, that means that a lot of these players haven't even had like the top leagues to watch, scout out, and see how this pick works. Guernica played it in the very first game of the split, in fact, on stream. But, you know, besides their own personal... experience of this champion, do they know how to duel against it? Because there's a duel going on now.
There certainly is. It's 2v2 around the top side. Scuttle makes it a 3v2 as Ethan is able to push down early, as Alphamos was completely zoned underneath the turret. That is going to be the Scuttle battle going over to Guernica. Definitely a trade. They'll be happy to win up against the Heartbreaker.
So that is standard, using priority in lanes to get yourself a jungle lead. So yeah, Guernica coming out with the first Scuttle, but Viego goes down to secure the bot side, one of that same regard. And again, nothing really leading to an advantage so far. Even gold, I guess, a bit of a lead in the mid lane for the TF. See more of a significant lead in this top side. Evan is, yeah, it's an Aatrox wailing on tanks for Conqueror. It sucks for the Scion.
Exactly right, and it's going to be a while until Alphamos is able to feel comfortable in this one. Just have to make sure they don't give over any kill pressure before it's too late. Zephan looks to hit those hotspots and manages to get the old knock up on the Transformer Alphamos.
So this is going to be an important thing to, because we've seen a lot of set into Scion, right? But it's not like Aatrox can't perform a similar job where you just make the Scion feel much less valuable because they don't have a clean laning phase. It's not going to be a Scion versus something where you can just kind of wave clear it out. Aatrox actually punches you for walking up to a wave because he is almost a semi-ranged champion with that Darkened Blade doing exactly this, just forcing you back and back again. And continuing to take down that HP. And of course, Aatrox, being a manaless champion, gets to do this over and over again. So yeah, Alphamos going to have to soak a lot of pressure here.
A couple of early purchases worthy of note. The pickaxe already picked up for Tristana will increase that showing power in comparison to a Cole that has been purchased by the Sivir, who's just have to play a waiting game for now. Guernica already rushing the Lucidity boots on the Hecarim, something we're seeing more and more from junglers at the moment. Such a high value item for such a low cost early on. This feels very much like option 2 of my potential situations when you get these top teams playing against each other. It's slow burn for sure. We're 5 minutes in and there's not even really been a threat of a kill.
And from what I remember of, so last Friday when, or last Wednesday rather, when of course servers went a bit awry and Spectator gave us a lot of trouble. A lot of the players ended up streaming their perspective instead, and I managed to tune into both Huria from Sorry Stags and then also the Bristol Whips Chentang in their respective series and how they were doing. And I was really impressed with Bristol Whips' communication. Have they communicated this top side though? Because Pop is here for a gank.
Yeah, Pop's going to look to go aggressive. Only level 5 in comparison to level 6 for Ethan. Already Gadunica runs in, finds the charge. Porp is taken lower and lower. It's going to be first blood coming through. Second kill secured immediately after for Gadunica, who hits level 6 off the very death of Alpha Moss. And suddenly, a 1,000 gold lead for Bristol Whip.
You know what we're talking about? Twisted Fate going topside. You don't really want to fight around a Sion versus an Aatrox because you don't have the damage. It's not the Twisted Fate in this case. It's actually the Viego going up for a gank themselves, as you see Evan going for the all-in. And the damage isn't there. The time is bought. Ghost is popped by Gadunica and flies in for a 2-kill topside fight. Bristol Whipped have their strongest side of the map in a strong point, going mid.
Chentang forces the flash out of QQR. So great was the threat of the potential onslaught of shadows and summon Tibbers that we see QQR having to flash respectively before the damage is done. However, Port, mostly Grumpy, and Gregors are able to secure the Mountain Dragon on the back of this.
So at least they get themselves first Dragon. That's something to start stacking up, and a Cloud Dragon coming up next means that there won't be a Cloud Rift on the board, meaning that the remaining two of Ocean and Infernal are a strong thing to play around. Gadunica does have ult, doesn't have Ghost, is farming out, and he might get caught here.
3-man gank unit going to find the stun onto Gadunica. He onslaughts arrows out, trying to get to safety, able to avoid the explosive charge from Gregors, loses out on the blue buff, and will have to burn the ultimate just to stay alive.
So no ultimate, no ghost now. Gadunica's gank potential severely reduced, although of course having the tier 2 boots means that he will be in position for counter ganks if he's still in the right place at the right time. Does help him in that regard. Porp though, managing to get, well, you know, the devil went down to blue buff, was looking for a camp to steal and other things with that kind of line of punning. He gets himself something on the board. He's slightly ahead in that CS, and if anything, Viego wants to hit that 2-3 item mark when you get something like a Kraken Slayer into more on-hit items. You just start putting out an insane amount of damage.
Meanwhile, we just have to turn our attention to why we are looking at such a low gold lead considering the 2-kill advantage for Bristol Whip, and it's all about the CS that we see down, especially on the bottom half of the map. This time Tibbers is going to connect onto the flashless QQR, who is going to be able to pull out the gold card, find the connection onto Gadunica, who's going lower and lower, in dashes Pop, finds the Heartbreaker, finds the kill, will steal away the soul, looking for the damage on Chentang, who has stun back available. Nibble trying to turn this fight around, trying to get a kill return, but Pop's got the damage, and here comes the Scion Express! The kill is found, Nibble will go down as well. Porp will survive by inches. The turnaround perfectly executed by the Cabbage family.
Ladies and gentlemen, I present to the Viego, healing like an absolute beast, raid boss in that fight, just unkillable. Goes down to such low HP. Chentang goes in for the first kill, of course, onto QQR. But then the death means that the regen when Viego takes on another form comes in, and there might be some regen needed. Bot side as Benuxas takes a lot of damage.
Rocket jump, buster shot, dead, dead, dead. Benuxas goes to an early grave. A big kill for Gregors.
Only takes 9 minutes for this game to start popping off in style. You know, maybe it's heading more towards that option 1 as opposed to that option 2 you're bringing up. Champs like both these teams finding their various openings, and while Bristol Whip had the topside advantage, that has not transferred anywhere else on the map just yet. And now this Viego on Porp has absolutely got enough gold to be a threat coming into the next couple of fights around the Rift.
Less than 2 minutes ago, it was 2 kills to 0 in favour of Bristol Whip. How times have changed. The gold lead has swung back in favour of the Cabbage family. A Herald will be secured by Bristol Whip, but they must be kind of just nursing their wounds somewhat after those last couple of plays went awry for them.
Absolutely, and now they tried to attack the source of the global. They tried to attack the TF. Okay, you get a flash away, you get a heal away, sure. Those are some summoners which you can then look to return gank. But the ultimate is now available, and you don't have a teleport on the Sivir. When you push up like this, you see the pings coming out on that bot side. Very dangerous, but Benuxas and Nibble realize that, and they decide, okay, all right, maybe not the place to be right now.
Second dragon of the game will be a Cloud Dragon in just under 2 minutes time. That means that we are going to be looking at either Infernal or Ocean Rift, 2 of the most valuable souls that you can possibly secure at the minute. Bristol Whipped have got themselves a bit of an edge on this one, but given the advantages they have, they've given over. But I thought Cabbage family picked up the first dragon, so I'm slightly confused by that one.
I believe they did. On the scoreboard, it is, of course, the other way around. But that is, yeah. Love you, Patrick. Gets the, of course,
I can't believe we
Cabbage
did
family.
like that.
Have themselves that. But, well, Alphamos, I was about to say very hard to dive, but he's not currently under turret, so that turret isn't helping. There's a TF here, though.
QQR's coming. He's already taken away the blast cone, so Gadunica only has
He doesn't
one
get over the wall.
Unstoppable onslaught is not unstoppable enough. Doesn't go all the way over the wall. Mostly Grumpy goes kill securing. Meanwhile, Destiny is used. The gate is going to come through. Gold card straight onto the Aatrox. Epan left without a prayer of getting away from the 4-man gank unit of the Cabbage family. Bristol tried to whip the Cabbages, but they got whipped back.
Absolute heartbreaker for Bristol Whips, and well, this is one of the problems around playing a strong side versus the Scion. We said, okay, Scion maybe doesn't want to be the point of pressure for Cabbage Family with this when the TF ult comes up there, but on the other side of that coin, rather, you don't really get to dive a Scion once they're into the game. Gadunica goes in for a fight. It's just way too deep. It feels like something that we spotted from their VOD against their previous game against Cabbage Family. Bristol Whips just over-forcing a bit. They're not really sitting there with enough patience, and Cabbage Family get to collapse much, much quicker. Scion doesn't go down quickly or easily enough. Bristol Whips, yeah, not getting the better end of that play.
A huge chunk of gold just went into Chentang, but they might be left having to spend it at the fountain sooner rather than later as Porp goes onto a killing spree, takes over the soul of Annie, and will kill off Tabby.
Oh, no.
That's the ultimate betrayal.
That is such a sad sight. Okay, alright, well, maybe I have to wait until that one's summoned again for a bit of revenge play from Chentang. But Bristol Whips, they were looking for this to be their revenge game, speaking of revenge, because of course that last game was on stream. It was a game which they felt like they had a good matchup going into, and this top side of Evan, Gadunica, and Chentang have been so formidable for so long. Cabbage Family really, really dealing with them. One of the questions that we had as casters coming into this prep is like, all right, can Cabbage Family deal with this top side of Bristol Whip? And Evan is winning this laning phase, is dealing with this matchup more than fine. But honestly, with the rest of the map and how it's going, Cabbage Family are not worried about this early game at all. Got themselves a 2,000 to 3,000 gold lead, and they're in the driving seat so far.
It is a 30 CS lead for Efan up in the top side against Alpha Moss. However, that kill advantage has now gone to the Scion, who's getting tankier by the second. Efan has now completed the Strike Breaker, so may well be unlocked soon too. You keep talking about this game that Bristol Whip want revenge for, and going back to watching that game with you, one of the things that we kept touching on is it seemed like whichever team made the proactive play seemed to lose the fight. The reactions of the other teams were just so good. We've seen that happen 3 or 4 times already in this game. First blood was Hawk going up, trying to make a gank happen, gets countered on. Bristol Whip get 2 kills. Then we see, just a moment ago, Gadunica trying to make a play onto Alphamos. Gets collapsed on. All of a sudden, 4 people there to kill him off. The play goes wrong again. It feels like whoever pulls the trigger seems to, they're playing the worst game of Russian roulette ever.
And I think from my own experience being in competitive settings, I suppose, a lot of that is you understand what tools you have available to at any time, but it's not necessarily easy to tell what the enemy is using until they use it. So if they show that hand first, then suddenly like, oh, we can use this to counter. Sometimes the mental gymnastics is a little bit easier to pass on this side. And particularly when you've got champions like Scion that can ult so quickly, TF that can ult in response, Cabbage Family have a very good reactionary team comp if things start exploding. Same with the junglers too, actually, when you've got the mobility of the mists from the Viego when you hit it onto a wall to have a lot of move speed. And of course, Gadunica, who's popped the ghost right now and is looking for mid. You can just get everywhere so quickly.
QQR managed to find the root, managed to find the stun, and yet again, it's the team who take on the fight who seem to be losing it. Porp finds one, goes forward with a Heartbreaker, trying to use the unbelievable damage coming out there, and Porp's able to find a double kill. Just stop making plays, both of these teams. If you don't make plays, you might not die. This time, I think it's going to be a play that does go correctly on the back of the Destiny. Efan is going to be able to find a knockup. Surely he can't turn this one around. The Demonic Ascension.
I don't know.
He can just to get the kill. QQR trying to find the damage, but here comes Porp. The monster's now 6-1 and 2.
Anything but a pauper. Porp in the jungle, 6-1 and 2. And he's currently an Aatrox, but he hasn't built up that Stride Breaker. He has the Kraken Slayer as the scoreboard shenanigans finally right themselves on the bottom part of that screen. 6-1 and 2. This is the item which means that Viego is so strong, because every time you hit someone with your Q or your W, your next attack has that extra like double hit passive, not dissimilar towards Lucian as well, right? And that means you cycle through on hit so quickly. This this champion in the jungle becomes more and more like a fighter assassin, a la Yasuo or Yone in their prime too.
And one of my biggest problems with Bristol Whipped as well is you speak of all the damage that's there for Cabbage Family. I just don't see where it is for Bristol Whipped right now. They're 4,000 gold behind. Not only are they about to get smacked around by the wallets of Cabbage Family, but they don't seem to have much to be able to return with. We don't see a completed mythic on Annie. We don't see a completed mythic on Sivir. There are mythics across the board for the 3 main damage dealers on Cabbage Family.
And I understand stopping off for the early boots onto Annie, which of course has delayed that mythic, but then again, you look at OTF, he has the boots too, so that's actually just a straight disparity there.
Yep.
In the bot side, Sivir's problem has always been mana consumption and how you continue wave clearing without just running through all of your resource. That's where you go for the Essence Reaver first. No, it's not a mythic, it does allow you to have presence in lane. If you want Sivir to be that real team fight presence, though, you do need 2 or 3 items. You are going to need yourself something like the Kraken Slayer. Gale Force more likely, of course, just because you're such a short-range champion, and move speed on Sivir being stacked is a very important thing towards that champion. But you're not going to be that turnaround AD carry threat in the same way that this Tristana can be on the other side of the Rift right now. And before even that comes in, the AD carries just haven't been involved. Another thing that has been that we picked up from that last matchup between these 2 teams, these lanes have been struggling to unlock their support. I think Cabbage Family are much happy with that, though, because they can just respond with their globals or semi-global and the Scion ultimate from their solo lanes. As long as Nibble is locked in lane, that's good for Cabbage Family. We saw what happened when Nibble left. Svenix has just died to the Tristana. I think Cabbage Family are wrangling the map very much in their favor.
Well, at the minute, it's very much a game of the Prince and the Pauper, and unfortunately, Paup is very much, he's not just the Prince, he's the Rune King right now, and he is just absolutely dominating. However, he's been completely caught out by the big damage that can come through if you get hit by round about 80 million ultimates, all from one Fnatic death push. Alphamos trying to run away, gonna go through on
Nibble!
But in goes Nibble to stop this one from coming through. Teleport will join the Freys if Anna arrives too late to pick up any kills. However, crucially, a dragon will be secured by Bristol Whip.
Okay, so that's where your damage comes from. Wombo Combo City. Chentang lands the Annie ultimate. A little bit of disrespect there from Cabbage Family, walking way too far up into the river without that vision. Bristol Whipped not nearly out of this game just yet. They are down significant amounts of gold, but taking that mid lane out of turret versus the Twisted Fate, who wants to push up, get priority. Now you don't have that turret, things are put into a bit of contention. And giving up an early dragon too, so there's no 2 early dragon stacks to the side of Cabbage Family. That bodes well for Bristol Whipped. They now have a platform to play off.
Yeah, if we'd seen Cabbage Family securing that dragon there, they would have been on the 3 dragons. They would have just been 1 away from getting soul. Things would have been looking bad. And even just before that fight started to break off, you were having a fun little monologue, so I let you enjoy it. But I was desperately wanting to say how
I did enjoy it, by the way. It was very nice.
While we had this, kind of the novel of choice for the Cabbage Family may have been the Prince and the Pauper, Bristol Whip seemed like they were caught in a bit of a catch-22 because they were so far behind that I wasn't sure they could afford to take that fight, but they so desperately needed to secure that dragon because otherwise you see Cabbage Family with an absurdly early potential for Infernal Soul. They find the way to make it work. They stop the vision. Not only do they pick up kills, they pick up a dragon, they pick up turrets. They reduce a 4,000 gold deficit to a 2,000 gold deficit and probably are a little happier now.
Well, I think the only people that go on, well, if we're talking about Catch-22, that bombing mission into the bot side river, the only people who willingly do that are those who are insane, but if you are doing it, then you're probably insane anyway. So if you're trying to claim insanity, that's where the Catch-22 comes in. Great book, by the way. Absolutely do suggest reading it.
I love
I've read it many good videos ago.
Make it into a point about the game. You just thought, I'm just going to explain the
No, I mean, no, but you look at good, you look at Pauper mostly grumpy going in and it's like, yeah, okay, moment of insanity for them, which again kind of keys into that whole scenario once more. Oh, there was a link in there somewhere.
Oh my word. It's Alex and Alex is. Oh, just now.
Alex time. There are Hapgood's book club. Join now.
I would sign up for that. What recommendations are you giving today?
Oh, I only read web novels, which are very, very trashy. So you know what?
That was a disappointing
you know what? I'll go back. Percy Jackson. Let's go.
Old school.
That's my book of the week for you.
Right.
And might be needing to call down some of that mythological thunder in this game will Bristol Whipped if they were to take another fight against the head. Of course, they don't exactly have, well, I mean, they got the electrocute on the Annie. That's what helped out in that last fight. That's about the closest reference I can make to that one. But they do now have themselves, oh, actually, not even a mythic being picked up by Binoxus right now. Gone for the Lord Dominic's Regards, so you can chunk through that front line that much more effectively. We've seen this item much more commonly, second item coming out of ADCs, in position to maybe defend this outer turret, but with 4 people here from Cabbage Family, it looks like this is kind of a foregone conclusion.
trying to get my head around what's going on with the ADC items at the minute, because I see Lord Dom's, Essence Reaver, and Boots completed in comparison to just the BF and small pieces for Boots and Kraken Slayer. Come back in a minute, because Chentang takes a lot of damage. QQR able to get out to safety, however, as Tibbers is thrown down in response. Is it just on odd back timings that we're seeing such a disparity between Tristana and Siv's items?
So I think that Gregis hasn't had the largest recall, hasn't had a large recall in a while. Actually, production, do you mind if we just have a look at how much gold is in inventory? So yeah, you see there, 1,500 gold in inventory for the Tristana. So, but looking at the gold disparity, I mean, Benoxas, after getting that shutdown onto Pop, been given a lot of gold to play around. Alphamos, well, he's a tank son. As much as you can force him around in the early game and Evan can keep pushing him in over and over, you can't really deny Alpha Moss's wave clear under turret. But yes, between these two AD carries, and now we do see that second item picked up, the Storm Razor coming in from the Tristana, so lots of chase down potential left in a 1v1 situation. But Benoxas now actually able to maybe do some damage towards Alpha Moss in those team fights if he's left with him.
Efan, as always, just dominating up here on the top side. I say as always, not so much in the last game that they played up against Cabbage Family, but definitely this time around, that huge CS lead, taking away a turret as well. Going to be looking pretty good. And while my feelings in terms of what Cabbage Family could execute in the early game certainly came true as they took that 10-3 kill lead and things were looking great for them, I feel more and more like what you were predicting for Bristol Whipped in terms of what they could execute could be happening soon as well. Their team fight's well and truly coming online. They're starting to get some crucial items on the carries. I think this game is potentially a lot closer than maybe even any of us think.
And this is where we start getting into the abstract point of the game of win conditions and how do you lose, right? Because what I would really love for these teams to do right now is in the comms just touch base with each other and say, okay, we've got these items, we've got these waves, we feel like we're strong in these roles. How do we lose or how do we win? On the side of Bristol Whipped, you probably lose if you overextend into the Twisted Fate. On the other side, you lose vision control into this Annie again. Well, we saw that happen the once. Things can go very much awry around that team fighting wombo combo mid laner, which has, of course, been that kind of spanner in the works. This is the unique champion in this game. We've seen the Viego once or twice, but Chentang, if he's allowed to get into a grouped up situation, very, very strong. Oh, Gold Card, this is kind of dangerous now.
Gold Card and Frostbow connecting on Slaughter Shadows.
Oh, Chentang!
Gudunica, but Chentang goes huge with Tibbers. Port trying to turn the damage around. Gudunica charging in, charging straight back out again. Alphamos finds the kill onto Chentang. The question is, will Gregors or Benoxas be able to do the most damage? Gregors having to flash away, but still getting caught out by Nibble, who manages to find the kill. Gudunica still charging around like a mad horse. Port going in, going aggressive, trying to find the kill onto Benoxas, who gets caught out. Gudunica, having gone so low early on, is the last horse standing. Port going forward with the Heartbreaker, trying to find the ace. In the end, it's not quite going to happen, but yet again, the fight's been won by Cabbage Family. They'll even manage to find themselves a second charge from the Herald. They may even be able to find a third Infernal Dragon.
Highest kill rate teams in the league, baby. We see a bloodbath around, well, seemingly just vision, but of course it's the dragon response afterwards.
That's all I'm saying.
There is absolutely more than a kill. There is a kill a minute right now. Pop caught out. There is a stun charged up on Chentang. Doesn't find anything, and that's one of the big things. If you don't lock down this Viego, well, it happened again. Got massive amounts of kills in that fight. Yes, the TF got caught out. Evan got a huge amount of healing on that Aatrox, even though the Taric managed to disengage a large amount of that fight after the initial burst came down. Greg and QR were threatening to pop off. Gudunica manages to roll back into the fight, and Evan, of course, played to the limits too. But all the while, Porp was just wailing away on this jungle marksman melee champion. Comes out with the highest damage share from that. He's such a threat in these fights.
Port is disgustingly strong right now. Completes the Blade of the Ruined King on the Ruined King. Will be able to use that with the Blade of the Ruined King, and is going to be such an incredible threat. 7, 2, and 4. There was a point during that fight where I was saying Benoxas and Gregors, who's going to stay alive longer? Who's going to put out the damage? The answer ended up being Benoxas, but just by courtesy of having this monstrous Viego on the squad, it is in the end Bristol Whipped who are left. Yet again, licking their wounds, but they're looking for the aggressions. Gudunica goes on to Most Grumpy, finds the charge, delivering Most Grumpy back into the opposition team. Immediately sees Ultimate thrown down, but it's not in time to save the tower. Gudunica going aggressive, gets hit by the Buster Truck, gets obliterated by Gregors. Ethan now taking a lot of damage, trying to find hotspots, but he's going to get taken down as well as QQR joins the fray. Yet again, the team that starts the fight loses the fight. When will you learn? Chentang, however, turns things around as this time it's Cabbage Family who goes slightly too aggressive. Gregors finds a rocket jump out to safety, will be able to find the ace along with the team. Porp yet again, porping off, and it will be a Baron for Cabbage Family.
You just can't out teamfight this squad, Cabbage Family. We said they've been around for a while. They've got to know each other as players and as a squad, and they've got to know the sweet taste of victory. The Summer 2020 champions versus the Spring 2020 champions. Well, it looks like it is summertime, even though it's a little bit earlier in the year right now in 2021.
Wow, well, we'll take ourselves just a small breather as we see Cabbage Family resetting on the back of picking up that Baron, finding themselves a 6,000 gold lead. To give you some exciting information, Alex, I can see from Twitch chat you have had your first person signing up for the Nymera book club, so get that thing started, create yourself a Patreon or an OnlyFans or whatever it is you cool kids do these days, and get it going.
Well, okay, that's maybe a plan for another day, because my brain is only filled with what the heck's gonna happen in Game 2 at this point. Because I look at this one, it has been, after the early couple of kills, it could have been such a foregone conclusion, but Bristolwoods have made it anything but. Yes, the fights have continually gone in the favor of Cabbage Family after a couple of bright sparks from Bristol Whip, but it doesn't feel like the game's closed yet. Even in that last fight, Mostly Grumpy was caught out, burst out before the ultimate could come down. A great pick. Just Cabbage Family are so hard to shut out from these fights. They collapse so very effectively.
They have been playing so nicely on the turnaround of these fights. Pretty much since that first failed gank, they've allowed themselves to mostly be the reactionary fight. And I can only think of one time where it's really gone wrong for them, and that was when they themselves got so heavily caught out through a lack of vision, coming towards that third dragon, which we saw Bristol Whip securing. With that being said, the fights are still absurdly close. And if we see Porp dying early in one of these fights, if we see a catch from someone like Nibble or Gadunica onto Porp rather than in that last fight what we saw onto Mostly Grumpy, that can be a game changer.
Exactly. I mean, in that last fight, Porp got down to about 200 HP. That was very, very close. One more Q from Chentang would have sealed the deal. Of course, Alpha Moss spotted that out and landed a devastating smash in that particular case. And now, speaking of Alpha Moss and Porp, those two which ran over that fight themselves, they're running over the bot lane towers. It looks like there is a big convergence of members. QR has ult on the top side, no teleport from the side of Chentang, so if TF were to leave that lane, things were potentially get a bit dicey for Bristol on the bot side of the map. And it's only a minute until the next Infernal Dragon spawns. Infernal Soul for Cabbage Family. That would make fights decidedly less close, you think?
You've got to assume Bristol Whipped are not going to be giving that one up without a fight. The question is, will they have the tools to deal with this Cabbage Family team who are so absurdly ahead right now? What seemed like a close game just a couple of minutes ago has yet again flipped massively in favor of the vegetables, but it's still on Bristol Whip to try and turn this one around.
And it is, and an important item actually, which is close to being picked up, but won't be available for this fight. Porp is building towards the Sterex. That means that it's much harder to pop him. He's got a little bit of that HP components in inventory already. But watch for that item complete for later fights. But in this one, gotta watch out for Chentang and see if he can pop Porp once again. Gadunica looking for an angle.
Alphmos gets caught, takes a bit of damage, but that's not the target Bristol Whip want.
No, it's not. Gadunica doesn't have, well, I don't think he's popped the ghost just yet. Running around, had that chem tank active, and now it has timed out. Side lanes pushing in for Cabbage Family. Gold cards being fished for, and Gadunica's going in.
This is the pick that they needed. Porp goes down to Chentang, and now this is a very, very chaotic fight. The 5v4. Most of Grumpy able to combine the kill to Benoxas, and suddenly two crucial carries are missing. One from each team. Dragon going lower and lower, but only one smite on the table. The question is, can Gadunica get in there in time? It is going to be Gadunica with the heroic charge, able to find himself the Dragon on the back of the kills. Alphmos trying to get to the safety of the wall, trying to be able to flash himself out, but it's not going to happen. Undead General sent back to the fountain. TF will continue to push while all of this goes on.
I think it's decided, Stan. It is definitely option one between your different options on the map. TF ulting up towards topside. I was actually wondering if there was a pick coming through. I'm a little worried for a second. Probably should have got Bristol Whipped a little worried too. Wave pushing on topside. This is the thing. Even though the fight goes the way of Bristol, they do get a shutdown. They do get 2 kills, and they traded just for the one onto Benoxas. They didn't have the map state to really gain anything more off of that. It does stall out the game, though. It does, unfortunately, mean that Porp is, still on the table and getting close towards that Sterex, and there will, of course, be another Dragon fight before this game goes through. Chantang, though, picks himself up Demonic Embrace, got that double burn build. Leandri's into that Demonic Embrace. Leandri's, of course, giving you extra cooldown reduction too, means that Chantang going to be cycling through more and more stuns as the fight goes on. And Bernoxas finally has himself that mythic item with the Gale Force. So actually, both these AD carries now at parity in terms of the items picked up. The next fight, even though there's a 6,000 gold difference, actually, again, given how that one went, looking even more favored towards Bristol somehow.
But Alex, that went that way for one reason and one reason alone. Porp stepped away from the team and suddenly had 4 opponents just trying to bash his skull in, and they succeeded.
Yeah.
The second that happened, yes, so much was burned on that we saw a bit of a turnaround. We saw Benuxas getting shredded through before they were really able to start getting the boomerangs off. But it was just, yeah, that was the exact pick that carried.
Oh, that's a Sivir ult.
Again, they go aggressive onto Gregors, but they are immediately buster shotted out. That's definitely not good English.
I mean, Gaduna could absolutely have won himself a great horse race in that one. Had Chemtang, had his E, had himself the on the hunt too. Gosh, that was a fast pony coming through.
We've seen this before from Bristol Whip. They look for the potential death bushes. They look for the potential pick. Mostly Grumpy takes a blast gun, able to get himself out to safety. Porp looking to get some damage down as Nibble is here as well. We're going to see teleport coming through, and it is going to be Nibble just absolutely erased from the map. Porp is already throwing down the damage. Greg is finds a kill as well. It's 2-0 in favour of Carriage Family as Alpha Moss, who's arrived through the teleport, looks to try and turn the damage over onto Gadunica or Benuxas. Benuxas and Chentang, the 2 carries, trying to get themselves out to safety. Gold card already primed by QQ.
Oh, the fire cannon.
Just a long distance onto Chentang, who turns around with the damage from the Tibbers, is able to take QQR out of the game, but only before giving away their life as well. We've still got 2 people alive, and crucially, Gadunica is one of them. The Hecarim will have the opportunity to try and steal this Baron away, but this is going to be a big old ass for the pony.
It is, and with Chentang dead, no longer is that Tibbers Wombo combo available for a Baron start. I think it's the right decision to go for the 1-for-1 between mid laners. Gadunica has ult, can cross the wall. It's getting dangerously low.
But there's no vision. A nice little pause comes through. Gadunica does decide to go for things, but arrives too late. Will try to get back over the wall, but isn't going to be able to do so. Gives up their life as well as the Baron. Cabbage Family accelerate the lead once more.
They do, and they find themselves their second Baron of the game. The lead grows once more. Of course, a load of Magi stacks, unfortunately, lost for QR. Had built that up, didn't touch in on that one, so we won't have past that 10 mark stack to get the move speed, which of course he was using to chase down the likes of Benuxas and Chentang from the end of that play. They have themselves level 18 Twisted Fate. Of course, that means rank 3 of the ultimate, which comes in at level 16. Very long range, lower cooldown. Cabbage Family have themselves a great many ways now they can look to close out this game, particularly with those globals.
Looking very, very good for them. And Alex, when will Bristol Whipped learn? I get that they're trying to find picks, they're trying to make things happen, but they keep on forcing, and they keep up giving their lives in response. You saw the potential pick onto Mostly Grumpy. However, the blast cone doesn't betray Mostly Grumpy. Instead, Nibble steps forward, and rather than a nibble, it is just one straight chomp to devour the Alistar, whose steaks are well and truly cooked.
Oh, Chentang looking for a flank, but Alphamos is really not going to care about that.
Yeah, straight in with the unstoppable onslaught. Gadunica going to go aggressive. It's onto Mostly Grumpy, and Porp and Greg is already putting damage down. QQ with the rapid fire cannon doing good work as well. Greg is finding the kill onto Hecarim, and now Nibble tries to stall for as long as possible, but double kill already coming through. Chentang is going to be the third victim as QQR takes away the potential triple from the ADC. The soul will finally be secured, but we might not even see a need for that, as Cabbage Family with a 5 against 2 advantage might look to push out the game.
Well, they have themselves the Tristana. They've got a lot of auto-attack damage onto the Twisted Fate too. And if Nymera's Book Club is going to have another session, we're going to go back to the Fellowship of the Ring with that whole bit in Moria about diving too greedily and too deep. Well, Bristol Whipped find out the consequences, and they will be losing this first game, it looks like.
Game oddly reminiscent of one we saw a few weeks ago, back in week 4, back in round 9. Infernal Dragon and Inhibitor secured almost simultaneously by Cabbage Family, who are now just so obscenely far ahead of their opposition. 10,000 gold is the lead, and I don't see them looking back now.
Well, they just got themselves the Infernal Soul off the back of that fight, picked up by Porp. He stuck around for that objective, not going for the full finish, didn't want to tangle with those Death Timers. Potentially have a bad reset after that point and lose out on the guaranteed Infernal Soul, which should be the death knell for this game 1 in this best of 3. So now they have reset, spent all that hard-earned cash, almost got full build on Gregors. They almost have, well, they have full build onto QR on this Twisted Fate too. So many items, so much stats, and of course the intangibles in those Infernal Dragons and the Soul picked up. Bristol Whips, what have they got to play around? It looks like it is just a miracle wombo they're waiting on.
The question is now with Baron still up, Baron buff still on Cabbage Family. Exactly how will they look to play this one out? Looks like they're going to send 4 to the bottom half of the map, try and push
Just
down.
falling off now, actually.
Twisted Fate is going to push on the top side. As you say, the Baron buff is now gone. It is going to be Ifan yet again looking for the engage onto Alphamot. The unstoppable onslaught has been stopped, but that's such a tanky Scion, eating up so much damage. Meanwhile, cooling it out against Chentang and Nibble simultaneously, winning in the 2v1 and winning with style as well. Finds the Heartbreak, will be able to go over the wall as Annie finds the stun onto Nibble. We see Destiny finally join the fight. This has been a 5 versus 4, and it's been a 4-man team that has been winning it in style. QQR gets the kill onto Manuxas. Nibble, the last cow standing left, running away from the base, gets caught out by the gold card. The obliteration from the damage from the Twisted Fate. The game will end at 35 minutes. Cabbage Family rise victorious. Your number 1 seeds are only 1 game away from the Null Spring Split Grand Finals.
Sweating a tad, gave up a couple of kills where maybe they shouldn't have, and they got out skirmished very early into that game in that top side, but it did not break their stride. Not even that item on the Aatrox was enough to really make them sweat. Maybe the Infernal Soul turned up the heat too much for Bristol, whipped in their own perspiration needs though. 1-0 for the Cabbage Family, and if they, well, I mean, they came in as first seed. They've been much feared from this Varsity season, and I can see why.
Stride Breaker was picked up by Aatrox. Sweat Breaker was not used by Cabbage Family. They looked absolutely dominant in that game, giving up a couple of early kills, but from the moment they went around about 1,000 gold behind in the opening 6 minutes, they never looked back after that point. They found themselves a 10-3 kill advantage, a couple of minor slip-ups, but eventually it seemed to be the over-aggression of Bristol Whip that kept coming back to bite them in the backsides.
They were trying to look for the opening that would get them back into the game. Something like 1 pick, which can get them into a Baron, but they didn't find any free fights because Cabbage Family are this experienced team, much like Bristol Whipped are themselves. If you take a fight, they will be ready for you. They are just that quick at communicating and understand what tools they have to fight around. Alphamos, yeah, he was a bit of a punching bag in that top lane matchup, but he turned up to every damn fight, always had the ultimate on speed dial for his team, and he turned up and was counted for when he was needed. Cabbage Family really showing again that synergy we wanted to see from both these teams. Although, of course, Bristol Wit didn't go out without a fight, and now we have to go into game 2 and see what the adaptation is from their team.
Alphamos had a stunning game, but it's hard to look much past Porp for an MVP for game 1. And my play of the game, certainly, I look back to that one around mid lane where Porp survives with just the tiniest health bar so many times in a row, eventually making it, I believe, a 3-for-1 mid lane trade. The trade that essentially flipped the game on its head and took away the dominance Bristol Whip had through those early opening minutes. Incredibly tight first game of this series. I'm hoping we get another 2 games like that. Cabbage Family will be hoping that it's only 1 more. We are going to take ourselves a small break, but stick around because we'll be back very, very shortly to bring the conclusion of this series.
when you need it most. Feel the freedom of being careless, just being in love. Everything will be alright. Through the darkness, through the night, no fear anymore. No fear anymore.
It's almost time for the second game in this terrific series between Bristol Whip and Cabbage Family. Cabbage Family with the 1-0 lead. Still bringing you all the hot Newell action. Stanley Greyheart Barker, joined by Alex Nymera Cascade.
The name just keeps changing. And turns out I don't have any time to ruminate on that because we're straight into pick and ban. Carter's being taken away from Pop once more. We saw that ban away in game 1, and it has been played various times through the round robin by Cabbage Family. I think that's an important ban because what we saw from Cabbage Family is that they were very happy to play reactively, and something which, of course, you've picked up on is that effectively, if Bristol Whip started a fight, they damn well lost it. If you start a fight versus the Carthus and the Carthus isn't there, he effectively is anyway because he presses R and turns things around for you. And that's no longer on the table. See if Cabbage Family, Bristol have any other kind of spicy picks to bring out.
And while we wait for those last couple of bands to come through, as much as I love stealing other people's material, I will give a shout out to the individual in Twitch chat who came out with Alex Cascade, because that was a good one, even if not.
That was okay.
Accurate.
One of the slightly more flattering versions of my name, I suppose.
You can enjoy this week because next week it's going to be hell for you. So we're going to have the Alistar and also the Tristana getting through. This means the Rel has been allowed through, and it's instantly.
Oh, it has. So now this changes things because you don't really get to react to a Rel mashing your carry's faces against the floor. You don't get to ignore a Rel engage. And now what this means is that, heck, you can have yourself a tank frontline, but if the carries are scaling well enough into the game, if you pick up something like, I don't know, like a Nazir, maybe a Jinx or something a bit more bursty, Cabbage Family might have an easier time turning around some of those fights which just started by Bristol Whip in that last game.
Well, we'll see whether or not V stands for Vendetta in this game, or if it's going to stand for Viego again. Potential lock-in for Porp, of course. We already see the Sion locked in. That is the flex potential, but we saw it last time on the top side. Viego is neglected this time as Lilia is not locked in for Porp.
Yes, it's a real favourite of Porp's. And if we're talking about V for Vendetta, I mean, I'll have my book club. You can have your movie club, I suppose.
Whoa. That is graphic novel first, my friend. All right.
Fair play. All right. Having a nerve there. I'm sorry. Okay.
It is 10 times better than the movie.
Well, this game, well, I mean, the last game was quite graphic if you're a Bristol Whipped fan, I guess, using the link there. And although Godinica going to get their hands back on this coveted Hecarim pick, has been nerfed a bit on 11.6 again. You know, I think the Q damage just been taken down.
Rampage, yeah.
Just a bit. Yeah, the Rampage just been taken down just a bit. So we do have Centaur on Centaur violence. Why can't horse people live together peacefully? Because there is no peace on the Rift. It was never an option. And Cho'Gath locked in forever on the top side.
That's an interesting one. It's going to have the battle of the grasps up on top side. It certainly looks like, unless we see some shenanigans with the flexes. One last pick to come through now as QQR looks to lock in something for Cabbage Family. Wouldn't be surprised to see a support locked in, just something. Otherwise, all of a sudden you could just see Bristol Whipped.
Oh, that's cool.
It's what, sorry?
That's cool. The Vigar locked in. I look at that and I'm like, okay, you see. I mean, the Cho'Gath is another thing in itself, but particularly the Hecarim and the Rel, you put down the cage and they don't really get to outplay that. It's one of the few things that actually might be an answer to something like a Rel. This actually might be a Vigar support. I know that Mickey on the side of G2 has basically said, all right, if you go for full CDR build and you max out your cage early on, yeah, you end up getting only like a 2 or 3 second downtime on that baby cage. It's so hard to gain terrain control around this pick if it gets going.
Okay, we'll keep our eyes as to whether that is what's going to happen. It certainly seems quite likely to me because it doesn't feel too much like a QQR champion. We're seeing ADC starting to be banned away, prioritized, as we've already seen the supports picked up. Sivir, Caitlyn, Lucian, all taken away so far. Couple of the big hitters still up there. Senna, of course, having had a bit of a nerf. Kai'Sa still in a pretty decent place.
Kai'Sa is definitely doing all right, but the problem is Kai'Sa doesn't really like front-to-back team fighting at a current point of power. Kai'Sa has been nerfed to the point where you need to be playing into that dive into the backline style, which would work on the side of Bristol Whipped, of course, because you do have heavy dive, and of course, even having stuff like the Rupture from the Cho'Gath Q gives you some options to dive in. Versus a Poppy, which is something which actually Cabbage Family have played in multiple positions. Well, this throws the whole draft into a lot of confusion. Is this Lilia going to be a la Chovy playing Lilia mid? Is this going to be a Poppy support with a Vigar Poppy bot lane? That's probably what it is, and that sounds disgusting. actually, Cabbage Family now have some real PowerPoints to play around with these unique interactions.
I am officially somewhat bamboozled. One thing that is not
disgusting.
confusing me is going to be the fact that we see the Jinx locked in. Last time round, we had questions about Chentang picking up the Annie. I quite liked what it did in a lot of the fights, though. It didn't have that incredible output of damage that we could see from things like potential Kassadin, Arise, things that were banned away from them last time. Twisted Fate was picked away from them last time. This time it is secured, and this is one of the champions I really wanted to see on Chentang.
So now we need to see if this is going to be the Poppy, the Poppy. He's played it a lot, and he often plays it Halo Blades with... Don't you look at me like that, Stan. He often plays it with Trinity Force. And it becomes a really hard kind of fighter archetype, which can deal okay with a Hecarim, because if he comes in for the charge, well, yeah, I mean, you just put up that W and then you can outfight him. So Ezreal has been locked in, which means this isn't going to be a Poppy bot lane, which probably means this is either going to be Vigar mid, Poppy support, or Poppy into the jungle and then having Lilia mid, Vigar support. Options.
We talk about flex a lot, and certainly when we look at this Cabbage Family draft, they've given themselves plenty of positions they could throw different things into. Honestly, I could easily have seen any of 3 champions there going into any of the 3 roles between top, mid, and support. It looks like things are locked in. This is what we're going to be dealing with, except the change at the last second for QQR to Ezreal, and Gregor's on Vigar. Game changer.
I mean, whatever floats your boat. Whatever floats your cabbage boat.
3 champions that can swap. A different champion has swapped.
Color me completely surprised. I mean, sure, Bristol looked like, yes, we've got our standard champions in each position. Cho'Gath might go AP, that's the one thing we can do. And then just Cabbage Family like, I can pick this champion in the mid lane, that seems fun. And the worst thing is, I can absolutely see it working. So this is like, I mean, either way, I think the Vigar needs to be getting farm. I think that if the Vigar gets farm, gets up to, your really high levels of CDR, going something like, I don't know, like the Leandries, which gives you the ability as passive, and then also gives you some mana, as opposed to Night Harvester, which doesn't give you so much mana regen and stuff like that. And then go into a Cosmic Drive, suddenly you have a lot of ability to play around. You go for the Onion Boost Lucidity. If you go, I don't know, Q into Emax, you don't get as much burst from your W, but just having that zone potential is disgusting. Versus teams which are trying to flit around the edges, like this Hecarim trying to find angles, and of course the Rel too. This also could be a role swap too. It could just be the Ezreal going bot and then the Vigar going mid. But I think it's likely to be the Poppy Vigar bot, much like the Poppy and Nivea of old, where you can just slam someone into the edge of the cage and then get that whole amount of damage down.
Well, this is going to be an interesting one. The last time I saw a Vigar being played in the sort of the ADC position, but as an APC, it was alongside a Senna, which went fasting Senna, and that was absolutely crazy, seeing the amount of stacking. This time around, it's going to be the Poppy that, as you can say, can have that strange old interaction of popping people into the event horizon. Predictions are open, Twitch chat, so start pop in your points. Pop in your points. Never mind. Start putting those points into guessing who you think is going to be winning this game. Cabbage Family, if they take the win, will secure a victory against their rivals, Bristol Whip. They will secure a position in the grand finals next week. Bristol Whip must win to keep themselves alive. You predicted a 2-1, but you also predicted Bristol Whip to win last time. So what do you know, Nymera? Who are you going for this time?
Alex.exe has stopped responding. I'm going to give it over to Cabbage Family because this seems like one of those compositions where you just have to know how it works. If you're not familiar with Vigar and how often the cage is up or down, things get really awkward. Because if this does end up being, a very high CDR Vigar, and you kind of sat there like, oh, it's like 5 seconds, you count it down, and actually it's 4 seconds, and you then go in when the cage is already up, that's a problem, particularly when you have a really high engaged composition for Bristol Whipped again. You do have the ability to go into side lanes. You can play maybe around the Scion being able to be dived by the likes of your Hecarim, Cho'Gath, and the TF. That seems like a decent dive combo. I'm just worried when it comes into those grouped up 5v5s that the Scion and the Poppy and the Vigar cage is going to be way too much terrain control for Bristol Whip to deal with.
I still believe that Cabbage Family are the best looking team that we've seen in Spring Split so far
Sorry, there's a load of copy passes in chat, and a lot of them are very clever, and then we just get hit with roses are red, violets are blue. I like Evan.
That's poetry right there. So Cabbage Family for me, they are one of the strongest teams we've seen.
Sorry, I just can't.
this spring split. Production, can you just go to just solo cam? So and not of him. All right. Oh, screw it. Just make it of him.
I'm sorry. Go on. I'm back.
No, you have your moment.
Well, I'm sorry. Well, I'm glad there's poetry in chat, which can keep us going when we lose our words, as I so competently do, I suppose.
Anyway, third time of asking. Cabbage family have looked so incredibly strong, and I honestly believe they will have what it takes to secure this win as a 2-0, especially based on the last couple of performances we've seen of them against Bristol Whip. But one thing I really like out of Bristol Whip is them having now secured this Twisted Fate, gives them the agency to turn fights around. We've said about both of these teams that it seems like who starts the fight often loses it. Now there's a massive amount more potential follow-up for Bristol Whip coming through from the Destiny, from the gold card, and I think that could be enough to turn some of the fights that we saw going narrowly in favour of Cabbage family last time round. Maybe that's the difference maker. Maybe, just maybe, we go to 3 games. I would love that.
I'd love it. I'd absolutely love it. I mean, what that means is when you do have split map plays, trying to dive onto a side lane, maybe using the TFL, maybe to actually go down bot lane if you can catch out the Vigar, if you can set that lane behind, it's go a bit awkwardly. And of course, Ezreal can't stop the TF from going out of lane. We'll be able to scale up there. I mean, he's gone for the Conqueror, he's gone for the teleport. I'd assume this is going to be an ADC Ezreal mid, otherwise you're lacking a lot of that physical damage. But the problem is, Horp has been so good on this Lilia, been so good. And what that means is that when you have, your ability to run around with this Blooming Blow stacked up, as soon as you start sniffing out that play, and Cabbage family have been very good at trading information too across all their members, you are likely to have Porp turning up to the play a la Guernica in that top lane play in game 1, too. This Lilia has the potential to turn around the plays which Bristol Whip want to be controlling the pace of.
Well, you had your moment to have a slight meltdown due to Twitch chat. My meltdown came from a different reason. Someone in Twitch chat had asked for a nibble riddle, and honestly, I was concentrating on the game, so I couldn't come up with a nibble riddle myself.
What have you
so
got for me?
I thought I'd do a quick Google and put in nibble riddle, and the first thing that came up was what do rabbits do this to carrots, and insert name of pop singer does this to ears, and the answer is nibble. Yeah, there you go. There's your nibble riddle.
Oh man! Oh wow, we've got a life or death series for both these teams. The loser goes into the lower bracket, both of which are fighting for the top end of European university competition. But nibble riddles. That's what you get from us.
Gold card connects onto the Ezreal, which has indeed gone into mid lane. No role swap today. QQR going to stay in the mid. Going to see Nibble looking for potential crash downs on the mighty pretty Chroma with Rel.
Absolutely. And of course, with something like this Jinx at level 9 with the increased range increments from the Fishbone Switch Shrew, Benoxus should be able to outrate... Oh, that's bad, Benoxus.
Immediately having to use the cleanse, which crucially Jinx had taken into this matchup.
And that's exactly what you got to be wary of. You don't have those levels yet, and if Nibble isn't there to turn something around, well, you might be in a bit of trouble, exactly as they were there. I don't think this is actually going to lead to much. All this might lead... Well, it does if you keep getting slammed like that. I mean, actually, the damage isn't that great, of course, only level 2. And the charge wasn't needed to get him into the wall. But if you just keep consistently getting hit by those, you're giving more AP over to the Vigar. Every time he hits an enemy champion with them, you get stacks up. And what that means is you don't have to go towards high AP items. You get enough from your passive after farming stacks off of minions and champions. And means you can go towards full CDR. Anyway, Benoxus, without that cleanse, I don't think Porp is going to be heading down there himself, though. Because he's more likely to try and stabilize this top side of the map where this... when, of course, it's more likely that the TF is going to head towards. But still, losing the cleanse early, immediately putting the onus on Benoxas and teaching him how dangerous this lane can be.
What I do wonder, though, is this a worrying sign of things to come for the bot lane for Bristol Whip? The fact they got caught out 2 times so early on, and the fact that it was the Jinx getting caught out rather than potentially Nibble with the crash downs as maybe we were expecting. Guernica and Porp are going to try these trades around the scuttle. I believe the double scuttle does go over to Guernica. Yeah.
And part of that is because lots of deep wards early on when we saw that Benoxas lost that cleanse, it's because Nibble went up to get a ward on the blue buff Gromp kind of area of the jungle from Cabbage family. They have that similarly over inside the Raptor pit too. Bristol Whip playing around the vision game well so far. What that means now, Guernica does have themselves an advantage in the jungle matchup. just depends what that ends up going it towards in the next couple of minutes, the first couple of fights in the game, and how that affects these lanes. Is Bristol Whipped going to play slightly more laid back, slightly less aggressive than they were, or are they just going to try and run through someone with this Hecarim advantage early on, like they did in game 1?
Remind to those watching of a more boring time, a world about an hour ago without nibble riddles and without Ethan poetry, where we saw a roughly 5 or 6 minutes of just slow burn trades between the two teams of Ethan bullying Alphamos on the top side, but nothing really happening. And then suddenly the game sparked to life. We went well over a kill per minute for the duration of the remainder of that game. I'm looking towards these early gank potential. I'm looking towards Gadunica and Port. Both of them have hit level 5, both hitting level 6 shortly, and then those big ganks could come in.
Course. I mean, Paul does have the ability to start chasing people down if they're pushed too far up. Same with Gadunica, right? Particularly if Hecarim gets to get behind a lane and shove you back with that charge. That's when things get awkward. Chentang, really accurate with these cards too on the Q. QR, even without being hit by the gold cards, been hit by a good 3 or 4 just when we watched over him in lane. Has got that tier, does have himself the teleport to Biscuit, so he's not really a danger of a kill threat right now, but Chentang, control of this lane, and that might be important because, again, he has just hit that level 6, opens up options.
Definitely will be available, perhaps a reactionary play that might be needed to make Bristol Whipped able to start a fight and then end up winning it as well for the first time in history. Certainly in the first, probably only the second time in recent history, as we saw them managing to get one nice play around the dragon in the last game, but everything else seemed like it was just a force too far. Gadunica going aggressive onto the recalling Alphamos, stopping the recall, but getting put out by the swirl feed. Potential ult coming through, but Port, crucially, not having the lilting lullaby. Onslaught of Shadows away as Port flashes forward, trying to secure first blood onto the opposition jungler. The damage just not quite enough. Ethan now having to flash away as Mostly Grumpy has arrived to the top side of the map. It's not going to be Porpy, but it's still going to be damage. Ethan gives up first blood to the Poppy.
And for some reason, Bristol Whipped can't weaponize their Twisted Fate at this point. Nibble's not there earlier. What do we say about game 1? Supports weren't really unlocked in this matchup, either in that last game or in their regular split game, that regular split game 2. But this time, Mostly Grumpy makes their way up towards top side, gets in there for the assist, and that does turn around this top lane matchup where this Cho'Gath was bullying out the Scion beforehand.
Top quiz, Nightmare. Who started that play in top?
Well, I would actually say, who started this play in mid? QOG! Ooh, 1 auto away from death.
Yet again, it's the team that starts the fight that seems to come off worse from it. The flash burn from Chentang, not getting a kill in response. Yet again, it's Mostly Grumpy who arrives for the turnaround. Last time, answer to the question, it was Gadunica who started it, cancelling Alphamos' recall, ending up giving the kill of his top laner away. Just stop taking fights, Bristol Whipped!
But the thing is, they're still trying to flex their muscles and get advantages through these micro plays. They end up... The problem is, when they're going for them, it feels like they haven't quite realized all of the follow-on effects of what could happen. Gregor's left on an island at this point too. Actually, do you mind just hovering over the Vigar and seeing how many stacks he's gotten from this first 8 minutes of play, if you can? Because each time he hits one of those abilities, each time he last hits someone with a Q, it does end up giving him more AP. Sorry, what was that? Okay, so protect. Sorry, I heard a whisper in the air. Didn't end up missing that. But we're gonna get a bit of an update on the stacks of Gregor's points. 35 so far for 8 minutes of play. That's absolutely not bad, particularly because you don't have that CDR matched up quite yet. But still, Vigar slowly but surely getting their way into this game.
First dragon in the game looks like it's being started up. Gadunica opting into starting this, perhaps aware that Pulp was on the top side of the map. Either way, feeling like there was enough pressure from Nibble and Manuxas on the bottom side to be able to secure this mountain dragon. Last time round, we got towards an Infernal Soul. Let's see what the second dragon will be this time round.
So, matching the first dragon of the first game. No Infernal Soul this time. That's the second dragon coming out. Bristol Whipped do get themselves the first dragon, though. Gadunica running across mid lane. Heading up, well, was potentially heading towards a top lane scuttle fight, but Porp has skipped that and gone towards top side. There's a TF ult.
Chentang comes in, has the gold card drawn. Ethan already going low, but the kill will be secured onto Porp. Ethan now, it's his turn to play around with a low health bar. Chentang continuing aggression onto Alphamos, drawing yet another gold card, landing the stun onto Alphamos, who does not have Unstoppable Onslaught available. Does manage to find the Decimating Strike, will be able to find damage, but the knockup from the Rupture is enough for Chentang to secure yet another kill with the picker card.
Stan! Savage Family started that play by running up instead of doing the scuttle. It's happening again. Bristol Whipped pick themselves up. 2 kills. And they get it on to the TF. Both of them go that way. That's going to be an early Everfrost picked up. Lots of CDR. And what that means now is because actually playing into a Sion when you have a Cho'Gath who has a lot of lockdown, particularly with the Twisted Fate roaming up there too, and lots of percent HP damage, is something you can dive a Sion with. The Aatrox can get a little bit itemized against, and whilst Alphamos will be building up to large amounts of magic resist, I would assume with the 2 solo laners that he's likely to be matched against being magic damage dealers themselves, this opens up an option for a Bristol Whip to say, yeah, we don't really want to be in the lane with that Vigor. We're just going to start diving that Sion later into the game.
Here's my thing, Nightmare. You know that usually I seed over, good, clever stats and things like that over to you. But rewatching this game, this was one of the things that I sort of came out with. I just sort of turned around at one point and just said to you, whoever starts the fight loses the fight. And it happened every single time in week 4 in round 9. It happened almost every time in the last game. It's happening again.
Yeah.
It just feels like these two teams need to learn. They need to take a bit of a chill.
And there are some things which just don't turn up in stats unless you're really fiddling with them a lot and be like, oh, well, if we take... when do they get kills? When kills have happened in a minute before them or something like that. You end up getting very esoteric and hard to actually find a route through. Mostly Grumpy spots out TF, was maybe wondering if he was going to go for an ultimate, because that's coming up in the next minute too. But yeah, sometimes there are things beyond the stats where you're just like, this is actually very important. For instance, champion pools are often one of those, but particularly around various areas of play, like, oh, this team wins around First Herald often, like they end up getting a lot of kills at that point. This is even weirder still. It's like, it doesn't matter where it happens in the game. If they are reacting, they just seem to be more in position to respond well than others. Now, Evan on this, big plans the bot side, flash forced out of the Vigor.
Yeah, that's a pretty big one to get. However, it is at the cost of an Onslaught of Shadows and a Ghost from Gadunica. However, with a Dragon spawning in a couple of minutes, perhaps this will enable a little bit more opportunity to play around bot side for Bristol Whipped as they look to continue the dominance they're having in the early game here. 2,000 gold up at 11 minutes. Chilling Smite comes down onto Ethan, the Wilting Lullaby, the flash away, but Alphamos is still charging down, will manage to find the knock-up, and it is going to be through. Gold card, he's going to be at the ready as we do see Chen Tang coming down, immediately called out by the Unstoppable Onslaught, but it's Alphamos now left without any potential escape path. Ethan does not have the feast available and is getting charged down by by Port. Ethan is able to survive, however, True Shot Barrage is going to miss.
Yeah, so what we can see about this Chemtang Cho'Gath is that if you're fighting in a wave, just too much HP comes back. Binoxas caught out by the cage, not going to get slammed into it though. You're going to get no Ghost, no ult, used that last time towards that bot side. And it seems like both these teams kind of getting away with the plays made against them. Nothing big coming out from those ones.
I'm not sure if that was Gadunica saving Banuxas's life or saving mostly Grumpy's life there. However, now it's going to be those two dueling it out. Gadunica getting caught out by multiple turret shots. Herald is going to be summoned on the top side. Is going to charge down, but here comes Alphamos down to join the fight. The reactionary play coming in from Cabbage Family as they look to turn things around. But now Chen Tang turns a reaction onto a reaction. And Porp comes in as well, making a reaction onto the reaction of the reaction.
This is a chain of events which is very hard to predict coming in, and even harder to put to words, I suppose. Either way, this one much less explosive than ones beforehand. Nibble now sticking around trying to get some vision, and Banuxas cancels a back. Oh, that's a big engage.
And a really big knock-up comes through from Mostly Grumpy, who denies the crash down from Nibble. Alphamos still lurking. Here comes Porp as well. They'll need to confine themselves slow. We are going to see Nibble caught out, but Gadunicas come down to join the team. It's yet again going to be everyone escaping with their lives just about intact.
I was so waiting for the flash pop-up from Mostly Grumpy, because of course there was that change a number of seasons ago now, where if you use that short-range pop-up on the Hammers, wasn't call it that one, Cupid's Verdict, that's the one, you can actually target those champions which are knocked up. It is just a straight knock-up instead of a knock-away when they become untargetable. Either way, play doesn't come through. Just a lot of summoners and a couple of teleports burned from both sides.
A lot of people are positioning towards this second dragon that's coming up. It is the Infernal Dragon. Will give a big boost to a few of the crucial damage dealers for these two teams. Cabbage Family want to secure their first dragon of the game. Bristol Whip wanted to get their second. Ethan, however, is the one
I'm sure you want to be there, Evan.
Immediately loses half of the health bar for Ethan. Definitely not optimal for them. Nibble down to half health as well. We do see a turret being destroyed down the bottom half of the map as Jinx continues the push. Gadunica going to go in, going to get some damage down with the rampage, lessened as it is on this patch. Nibble charging away, not quite getting caught by the Mystic shot, but the dragon looks like he is going to be going over to the team with the health bars. That's Cabbage Family.
So, well, I mean, all things said, big trade onto Nibble, but the shield comes through.
That is going to be good damage, but yet again on to Nibble. QQ are trying to get something while the rest of the team steal away this dragon. And are going to be able to pick up this one. But looking at that gold lead, it's getting even bigger. Bristol Whip now 4k up.
I was about to say, just before they came in, I was like, okay, so what we normally do after an objective is taken, we take stock of the game again, because it's very obvious when an objective goes down that, of course, someone has gained something. There's a big sound effect on the screen, and then often the gold ticks over if it's a tower or something like that. But actually, slowly creeping up, laning advantages, and of course a couple of kills coming through, and those plates as well. Bristol whipped, particularly through that top side, huge CS lead, plates, kills too. They've managed to find themselves a lot on the table to go into the mid-game fights, something which they didn't have in game one.
Gadunica trying to steal some rapids away. Smite comes through for Port, but Gadunica goes aggressive onto the Lilia. Pony versus Pony combat. The bronies out in chat will be loving this one because all three out on the rift, but one of them no more as Lilia sets back to the fountain. Chentan gets obliterated by the unleashed power, and now we are going to see Alpha Moss taking a bit of damage from Ether.
He's getting knocked up by the Rupture. Remember, he doesn't have the ultimate right now, but just poking across. Chantang had himself a stopwatch, but, well, you don't have smoke treads, don't have a cleanse. You absolutely don't have any way out of that combo. The Vital, big fans QR.
QQ gets stunned up by Gadunica, and Nibble in tangent is sent fleeing, and one more shot from Banuxas will be enough to secure the kill. Mostly Grumpy left without an ADC to protect, even though that's the ADC. There's no one there to protect in mid lane now. Mostly Grumpy is left dead to right, managed to find stun, flashes away with the steadfast presence up. Alpha Boss comes charging in, finds a double knockup. That's going to be the kill onto Banuxas. Gadunica taking a turret shot for their troubles. Porp is going to arrive just as Chentan comes in with the teleport.
Oh, he catches him.
Down the event horizon, finds good damage. The gold card will be enough to stop Porp's damage coming through. However, Chentan getting absolutely eviscerated, bopped by Alpha Moss.
Really awkward teleport from Chentang. Just use that flash on the bottom side for no effect either. If you have that flash, maybe you can make a play onto someone like Mostly Grumpy in that fight. This Veigar is such a thorn in the side of Bristol Whipped. They don't end up playing around it well in the sidelines at that point. They get picked off, and the turnaround comes through. Suddenly that gold lead slightly lessened. The towers having more pressure on the map from Cabbage Family now. They find themselves a fight in the more grouped up setting, and they manage to find something from it.
Some people are calling the Gregor's Mostly Grumpy Veigar Poppy bot lane a bit of a cheese pick. Some people are questioning whether or not it's working out. What are your thoughts on it now that we're 16 minutes in?
I'm saying that we had a team at Worlds called Albus Nox Luna, which played Poppy Veigar and beat Rox Tigers, one of the best teams in the world at that point. There is a point where something is cheese, but if it is effective, you don't deny it either way. The important thing about cheese picks is, yes, they're not necessarily the most efficient picks for playing the game in the current meta, but if you are more practiced at playing them than the enemy is against them, particularly with a combo as obnoxious as this, you get a lot of value out of them. Look at this. Forcing people to use cooldowns. I mean, maybe that could have been used for in the next couple of seconds to try and get an engage onto the Veigar. We saw that onto the Flash, onto the Twisted Fate. It is often used just to make someone very uncomfortable in the game.
In this best of 3 series is certainly a close one. We were talking a lot about UEM earlier, and some of our old heroes of UEM days and Null days gone by are out in the chat. A big hello to everybody who was on that fantastic trip to Madrid. We're certainly missing those days at the moment, and oh boy, it makes me think about UEM and thinking that potentially one of these two teams could well be representing the UK.
And if we're talking about cheese, I mean, like we were saying, the champions of the last year's tournament at that European level only lost in a straight draft, as we'll talk about that later, was Mostly Grumpy, caught out once more.
Yeah, the steadfast presence not enough to help out, but Poppy's still pretty tanky as the event horizon gets put down. Gadunica comes through, Gentang with Destiny is able to get good damage down. Still onto Gentang, but the turnaround is huge as we see Banuxas ripping through the health bars with the long range Ronic. Gadunica going to get the kill onto Gregors, but the Mostly Grumpy kill secured by the ADC Jinx.
Huge amounts of damage coming out from QR across the wall, and of course Gregors with that ultimate. It's so much damage if the initial burst comes through, has that execute portion to it. And Bristol Whips still find themselves with a 2-for-2, I suppose, pushing onto the turret afterwards because the Jinx is still alive. QR being alive on the other side, though. Remember that just because the bot laner dies doesn't mean that they don't have themselves an AD carry to play around. QR gets himself a wave to hoover up in that bot side, and it's an even trade once more.
One of the things that my eyes are drawn to more and more as we get towards the late stages of this game is positioning coming in from Banuxas. We saw the damage that can come down from that Jinx now that Kraken Slayer is completed. However, in the last game, Banuxas was guilty of being picked off far too many times in those team fights and not being in a position where they could do anything to stop the rampaging Port. If that happens again in this game, it could be a real huge amount of trouble. Noxus does have the cleanse available. That is going to come in crucial. Gadunica certainly wish they had a cleanse right now, as they are completely caught out. Primordial Burst is available for Gregor, and they're able to put it down onto Gadunica just yet. Another dragon has spawned, and that's what these two teams are fighting over. Herald spawned in mid. That's not going to get a crash down today.
No, Gadunica very low HP and wandering over enemy vision. It looks like this dragon, well, at least the river control ceded over to Cabbage Family right now. But Noxas, that positioning factor gets much harder when you have to go through choke points, particularly when your tanks are getting shredded too.
Alphalos absolutely bops Nibble, who crashes down to get away. Gadunica goes aggressive, goes straight through the event horizon. Ifan's able to find the kill onto Gregors before they're able to kill off any of the opposition members. Cabbage Family looking good so far in this fight, as we see, Bristol looking good in the fight. Does it's a double kill coming in. QQR does manage to take down Chentang. Port goes golden. Ifan trying to find yet another kill with the Rupture, but Port dashing forward, dashing back, staying alive for now by inches. QQR doing the work on the Ezreal, finds two, trying to find three more, but has the Arcane Shift, gets out to safety, triggers the blue buff. Meanwhile, Port trying to get out. QQR still throwing down the Mystic Shots, but Port is dead. QQR not quite able to catch out, but Noxas doesn't quite find the zap. QQR lives, but only by the finest of margin. Throws down the True Shot barrage, doesn't catch on to Ifan, still looking to try and stop this dragon from going down. This has got to be the death. No! That's Ezreal finding a kill on Terrell! How the holy hell did that happen?
I don't know, I was about to say, you know, like the American Sniper meme doesn't quite work with the Kent Sniper. Cabbage Family have themselves a marksman in the mid lane. Skill shots on point. QR inputting all the right commands, finding his correct code. It's not quite Konami, but takes down the support. And that was after Nibble flies over the wall and gets a solo kill at the end of that fight too on Relevable Champions. What a messy fight.
QQR, what did I just witness?
This is peak League of Legends, and it comes from the Newell. Gets himself. I thought after that W landed from Benuxas, that was it. I thought the slow would lead into one extra auto going through. Not to be, and of course, gets a kill. They lose the dragons, so now Bristol Whipped have themselves 2-1. Ocean Soul on the Rift on the cards, and they need to get themselves 2 more to claim that. But this game is still in the balance. It's still completely to fight for. Evan, though, on this Cho'Gath, so hard to deal with from the side of Cabbage Family.
What a game this is going to be. The gold lead still ran about the 4,000 to 5,000 mark for Bristol Whipped. They're looking good. They're eyeing up a potential Baron, but Cabbage Family are certainly not out of this by any means. Remember, Cabbage Family, with a win here, would secure victory, would secure themselves a position in the grand final for the Newell Spring Split, would be only one best-of-5 series away from getting that opportunity towards UEM. Bristol Whipped, however, they need to bounce back. They need to win both of these games if they want that reward for themselves.
Oh gosh, so going up towards, 4,000 to 5,000 gold lead for the side of Bristol Whipped. The thing about having a solo lane Ezreal is that you are over-leveled, often have a bit more gold to yourself, but you're on the wrong side of the map to deal with a Baron. No, Teleport does have the ult, but this looks like it's going to be secured. Remember, they have a Cho'Gath ult.
There's going to be vision put down on towards it, but Lilia's still so far away from this. Baron already down below half health. Chentang ripping through it with this Twisted Fate. 2,000 health left. Porp's going to arrive too late, as we see the feast from Ifan is enough to secure the Baron. Now the damage comes through. Porp goes golden with only a fraction of health left. Nibble going low and low, but Ifan's the first one to pick up a kill in this fight. Yet again, QQR is going to arrive and try and do everything they can, but they arrive so late to the party. Mostly Grumpy body blocking for as long as they can, but eventually having to flash away. QQR going over the wall is just about able to stay away from the rocket from Jinx, but in the end, it is a Baron and 4 kills and a turret and possibly a game-winning play for Bristol Whipped.
That is absolutely trying to make this a 3-game series. Take it the distance. Stay on the Rift a little longer for tonight's games. Benuxas 4-1-6. If the first kill of the fight goes down, the extra mobility is so hard to disengage with the side of Cabbage Family. Shout out, particularly in that fight, for Gadunica to get right on top of Gregors yet again. This Vigar wants to be sat in position with a phalanx in front of them. Well, putting down the cage doesn't actually stop the Hecarim. If he does go through the full duration of the stun, which means that when he finishes the animation, he's still locked in place, but if he lands the Onslaught of Shadows, well, Gregors doesn't exactly have the chance to walk away either, because he will be hit by that ability too. Bristol Whipped managing to reach the backline whilst keeping theirs safe through their stronger frontline in this Cho'Gath.
ask yourselves this. Where were you, Nightmare? Where were you, Patrick Pants Campbell? Where were you, Twitch chat, when finally the team that started the play came out on top? Because that's exactly what happened. Bristol Whip grabbing the proverbial bull by the horns, even without an Alistair in the game. They take themselves the Baron. The 4v5 fight that ensues from it is pretty much a straight route over to Bristol Whip. And suddenly, they look for sure to be taking this to a game 3.
Well, everything could still go wrong. One cage, one slam onto Bernuxas. Of course, he has the cleanse right now. Could still trade things very badly. Porp doesn't have a stopwatch.
Gold card comes in, but it's not in time to pick up onto Porp. Mostly Grumpy might find themselves targeted by that very gold card. They try to channel the Hex Smash, but it's too late to do that one. Chentan takes a huge chunk of damage from Gregor, however, dropping the W from above. Gudunica going lower as well. QQR wants to take this fight. Almost a turnaround again. Oh, what is it about these two teams?
Gregor's cages are so threatening. You land one onto anyone, that's pretty much not Evan. That's all. He does have a stopwatch. No, he doesn't actually.
Doesn't have a stopwatch, does have a gold card, able to draw it, but a stopwatch onslaught comes through. Alpha Moss charging down there, prey. Gudunica will arrive, will try to turn the fight around, but already one person has been picked off from Cabbage Family. Bristol will try and turn this one round. Keeper's verdict already issued. Steadfast presence put down by most of Grumpy, blocking off as much as possible. Not able to block the charge from the incoming Gudunica. QQR still putting down damage from back, but here comes Ethan. So obscenely tanky. Alpha Moss goes into Undead General form, will try to beat down onto the Void Monster, but it is no way that you are shredding through the health bar of Ethan right now. The monster has arrived.
He's arrived, and this is the big difference between these two teams. The Cho'Gath has no one on the other side that can even touch this player right now. With all that being said, it's a 9,000 gold lead, and it's still close fights. This is the caliber of team that Cabbage Family are. They are not out of this game somehow, some way. That's another dragon picked up for Bristol Whip. Luckily, it's not the soul. Between Gregors, QR, and then also having the extra kind of supporting cast of utility members of this composition, Cabbage Family are making things difficult.
8,000 gold lead, however, is pretty difficult for Cabbage Family to deal with. They're trying to make things difficult, but they themselves have their backs up against the wall, and it is Bernuxas firing the rockets at them. Chentang as well, even though the KDA of 266 maybe doesn't sound that impressive, has time and time again arrived at the right moments with the Destiny, has turned fights in his team's favor, much as I potentially predicted could happen. And I have to say at this point that whoever has the Twisted Fate seems to have control of these games.
I mean, that makes a lot of sense, right? Being able to kind of have that lockdown with that point and click, and also play side lane, so the other team has to be respectful of the Destiny Gate coming in. It's a very powerful tool. It's one of the many reasons why Twisted Fate is a meta champion right now. Bristol Whips, they're going to lose a bit of vision around this red side jungle of Cabbage Family. Bernuxas, though, is one of the players to watch. Honestly, the player to watch on the side of Bristol Whip. So close have Cabbage Family gotten to shutting him down, particularly in that last fight when they managed to keep his verdict away one of his frontliners and pin him against the wall. He doesn't have summoners now for the next fight. However, if it is going to be around another dragon, that will be, well, both of them will be up available because that 5-minute time between spawns on that objective. Now, I'm looking for Cabbage Family. How do they get on top of this Jinx?
Just that you asked that, because my question, rhetorical as it is what do Cabbage Family do next? Bristol Whipped in the last game, they kept trying to force fights. Those fights almost always backfired on them. Cabbage Family don't seem to be forcing those opportunities quite so much. They seem happy to play reactionary. They look happy to continue stacking, especially on the Vigar. However, they have this window of opportunity. But Nuxas, no cleanse, no flash available for a few moments.
So, Gudunica pops the Ghost, maybe trying to look towards the Ezreal, but he's going through enemy vision, and of course, mostly Grumpy and Gregor's in that jungle would have stymied that approach. Twisted Fate looking to get some priority up on that top side. And Bristol Whips gaining some in the bot side with this Cho'Gath versus, of course, Alpha Master Sign. And look at that CS advantage there. What did Cabbage Family do right here? You've had a good start. Get some vision. Try and get yourself into a more stable position on the map where you can actually reach waves without being under threat of that Twisted Fate, of that Hecarim running in with the Chemtech and the Ghost. Question is, what do you do after that? I think you are waiting for a mistake from the side of Bristol Whip because, I mean, if it wasn't apparent already, if you make the initial play, it doesn't tend to work out for that team.
Well, here's Gregor's getting slightly caught out, throwing down the cage, trying to stay safe. And here comes the unstoppable onslaught. If one mighty chomp feasts on the Yordle's very soul, and suddenly it's a 5 versus 4 advantage over to Bristol Whip with the Baron having just spawned.
Okay, so Bristol Whips use their lead and they punish someone on the side lane. This is it. Well, I mean, it's not even a side lane. Punish someone from the side lane because they get that priority, which allows Evan to run straight into the mid lane off of vision. And now, well, okay, this is now dangerous because they don't have the Cho'Gath ult this time. This is a potential steal from the side of Cabbage Family.
4v5 around Baron last time round. That's what it's going to have to be this time. Chentang loses half the health to the True Shot Barrage. That's going to be Alphamos finding a knockup onto Ethan, who's able to stay fairly healthy. Nibble finding a 3-man stun, finding the massive knockup.
Huge.
And Banuk brings the damage, brings the pain. Ethan finds the kill onto Poppy. Kudunika chases out Pop. The Baron no longer under threat. I suppose that is one small solace. However, that solace shall not last for long.
Huge play for Bristol Whips. Now they have themselves the Cho'Gath ult back up. Yes, of course, there's a jungle on the other side, but he's 2 levels down versus that 3rd rank of Beast. Looking dangerous the side of Cabbage Family.
It's going to be Porp looking for the Godly Steal. Flashes in, tries to steal away. However, the Feast was back up, and just like that, the Baron was back down, and so was Porp. Gregor's left without a leg to stand on, as yet again, Banuxas finds themselves a double kill. 8-1 and 8 on this Jinx. 7-1 and 6. Ethan's top lane Cho'Gath. And most importantly, I know you all love him, Nibble, Nibble, Nibble at 2-2 and 10 on the realm.
As soon as the Poppy is out of the equation, well, that's when Nibble really comes out to play. Yes, the Poppy, the steadfast presence, stops the initial crash down, much in the same way that Alistair can counterplay, or Thresh with the Flay, something like that. Nibble finds a huge turnaround when they go for the peel off of that Baron, and that's really what turns that fight. This Jinx able to follow up after that point, clean up as that character does so well. I mean, this is now an absurd gold lead of about 14,000. And with the dragon spawning in 20 seconds, Cabbage Family to have to pull out a truly miraculous team fight to win this. I think actually they might just have to let it go.
Cabbage Family, they've got some Star Sailor queued up on Spotify right now. They're screaming out, "Tell me it's not over." But right now, Bristol Whip are the ones with their foot to the floor. They are looking.
Raid boss, let's go.
Keep on going aggressive, walking into enemy lines. Goes absolutely huge with the stone plate shield. Dragon goes over Bristol, but that is going to be the Ocean Soul. And right now, I do not see a single hope for Cabbage Family, though. I've said that before in the program.
That's the kind of moment where, I mean, I've played sparingly little MMOs, but if you ever go into an over-leveled area, it's like, yeah, I'll just aggro this boss real quick, and you do like 2 damage to it. And you're like, mistakes were made, quickly retreat, let's go, bravely run away. And Evan, you just can't get, he didn't even pop his Gargoyle Stone Plate. This Cho'Gath is just, you just can't displace this guy.
You cannot. Meanwhile, TF completing the push-up on the top side, already attacking the inhibitor turret. We see bot side inhibitor under threat as well, but top side is destroyed. Unstoppable Onslaught comes through as Alphamos decides this is the time to take the fight. It's now or never for Bristol Whip, but they may well have selected never because Banuxas is going untouched, raining down the damage. Ethan is in the back of the lines, just shredding through the health pass, finding the kill onto Port. The rocket lands as well. Alphamos is left on so little health. Back to the top side
TF's
goes, having teleported down to join in with the fight. Alphamos looks like they're going to be the next person caught out by the rocket of the Jinx, but Nuxas finds 2, looks for a 3rd as well. Alphamos trying to find Nibble on the
Nibble,
no! However, that does not matter the slightest, because never mind Star Sailor, it's Linkin Park time. In the end, it didn't even matter for Cabbage Family because Bristol Whip were too dominant in Game 2. We are going to a deciding game in this final.
Cabbage Family not given the easy run in Game 2. We are going the distance. They're taking us the distance too with them. Game 3, bring it on.
Our winners bracket final is poised at 1 game apiece. This is a best of 3. Next week, we are looking at a best of 5 for our grand final, the game that will decide who's taking home all those awesome prizes, who's getting the potential for UEM. However, right now, let's focus on this one and how good this was. We couldn't have had 2 more conflicting games in terms of how they ended up playing out.
I mean, there is something to be said about Cabbage Family, even at the hands of a huge gold deficit, made things look dangerous. There were points where they were 6,000, 9,000 gold down, where they were getting picks in dangerous positions, and then the Cho'Gath would turn up and, well, effectively that's team fight over. They almost found ways and routes into the backline when Evan wasn't there, but on this super tank top laner, in the match of super tanks, Alphamos really didn't get a lot of the resources they needed to succeed. Of course, got punished by that TF gank a couple of times and kind of stymied the top lane advantages that they were looking for. And this Cho'Gath became absolutely uncontrollable.
out of control indeed. That game slipped away from Cabbage Family. They'll have to bounce back and take the final game should they want to secure the grand final without going down to the losers bracket. Bristol Whipped will want to keep their foot on the accelerator, pushing forward. We will be taking a small break before we hit that game through, but before we go, I do want to say a huge thank you to everyone in Twitch chat who's been so lovely and supportive. It does put a smile on my face every time we see the love for the casters, especially the hate for Alex as well. But to every single one of you out there, you are
I think
absolutely...
that's just you, Stan.
No, it's really not. But every single one of you out there, you're absolutely awesome. Huge love to you all. I look forward to coming back and seeing you all for Game 3 after this break.
I'll get you one.
I told you that one day ain't never enough. You tell me I hate you, I still call you up. If we don't got trust, we can never have love. I was putting in the hours, I was. But you were calling me a liar, 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 liar. I've been putting in the hours, I was. And it's coming down to now and now and now and now and never. I was putting in the I'm sick of fighting the things that you said. I don't wanna burn all our bridges ahead. I'm tired of going to bed when you left me on red just to turn up the noise in my head. I told you that one day ain't never enough. You tell me I hate you, I still call you up. If we don't got trust, we can never have love. I was putting in the hours, I was. You were calling me a liar, 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 liar. I've been putting in the hours, I was. And it's coming down to now and now and now and now and never. I was putting in the putting in the
Oh boy, what a series we are having here. We have got the deciding game in this top half of the bracket final. I'm Stanley Greyheart Barker, joined by the fantastics Alex Nymera Hapgood.
And glad to be here. We're going the distance. It is Game 3 winners final. The winner of this, of course, goes on to the grand final. One of these teams at the end of this game, will have to be facing off apparently against DMU, who have 2-0'd the Surrey Stags in their lower bracket match. So it'll be between DMU, when that means we effectively have the trifecta of Spring Champions Bristol Whipped, Summer Champions Cabbage Family, and Winter Champions DMU T1 from 2020, battling it out in the first split tour 2021 for the Newell.
They're all playing out this game, and right now, if there's one thing I want to be doing, it's avoiding that losers bracket final against DMU T1, because they seem to be finding form yet again at just the right moment, making that late push to get themselves up into the grand finals next week. However, it's very much in the hands of these two teams who will be facing them in that loser bracket final and who will be potentially facing them in the grand final, depending on who takes that series. Right now, let's talk about Bristol Whip. Let's talk about Cabbage Family, and let's talk about two very similar games in terms of how they ended up playing out, but polar opposite in terms of the team's performances.
And now I've got to start questioning, where is this TF going to be in this draft? Is it going to be banned by one of these teams? You immediately, as soon as we came off air, you were just like, TF is such an important pick. It just allows so much control of the map. It's too useful. It's too good. And honestly, in my eyes, both of these players are too good at the pick anyway. You see the Rel being banned away from Nibble. I think that's more than fine. Of course, now Alistair's still on the table. Maybe that's something to be considered. Now, Twisted Fate. I actually wonder if it's starting to get up towards first pick priority.
Well, maybe that will be the case. We've got ourselves a couple more bans still to come through from Bristol Whip. You'd assume they are the ones who are going to be banning it away, should they have the feel the necessity, if they think it is first pick worthy. We're seeing the Caitlyn banned away really early away from Benuxas here, and the Tristana being the response over to Gregors. So some interesting choices.
Wait, what happened to my name? What is happening? We're in game 3 of a very important series, Patrick. Karma's in first pick. Let's talk about that.
We have seen the Karma locked in. Slightly surprising one. It's not something we've seen so far in this series. It's been banned away, certainly in one of the games, if not both of them, but it has now been prioritized, has a huge amount of flex potential. Immediate response is going to be the bot lane lock-in of Thresh and Sivir. Of course, as you said, Sivir can technically go somewhere else, but I do like seeing Nibble on the Thresh.
I do like that, and it also gives something very important towards Bristol Whip, which maybe they've lacked in a couple of these games. Well, actually, something that Cabbage Family lacked really in that second game. A way to reposition your backline. It looks like Stad is bringing in the house analyst of one of the Greyhounds, or at least trying to coax them up.
Hope was having a little moment. I thought she was going to cause a bit of chaos, so I tried to stop that, and she may join us momentarily for a bit of analysis. One thing that she might have to talk about is Alpha Moss's Camille. This is a champion that both of us expected to see more of today, but it's only in game 3 that it's finally pulled out.
So, of course, Cabbage Family, with that loss in that last game, only take their second loss out of the against other teams in the top 3, that being DMU and Bristol Whip themselves, throughout this entire split so far. They won against Bristol Whip in that round robin with that Camille, and actually QR on the Orianna was a huge part in that too. Evan not going towards anything like the Cho'Gath, going up towards the Scion, trying to become that super tank once again, which Alpha Moss failed to do so in that last game, whereas Evan really managed to succeed in it. Alpha Moss maybe got that favorable matchup to try and take it to him again though.
We've got a huge amount of potential for a Protect the ADC composition as well, coming in with the Orianna lock-in. The Scion's been okay so far. It's not been blowing my mind on either of the teams we've seen it on. One thing that is for certain, however, is that we have got ourselves a professional analysis. The question is, who are you going to go for? I know you're a fan of Nibble, or is it going to be all about Paw? Who are you going for? Hold on.
This is honestly what I signed up for, when it's like, hey, Namera, do you want to cast Newell? And I asked, well, I mean, are the Greyhounds involved? And here I am.
And I have heard that it is indeed going to be whoever locks a dog champion in. So if we see a Corky come through, then that's who Hope is going to be cheering for.
I don't know. I think Soaz would say that would be Shen. But based off of that old Season 8 meme. So, Hecarim actually banned away from Gadunica. So, there'll be a new jungler from Bristol Whipped in this game. Skarner, that's a good pick. That's something that can really threaten the Camille. You overdive, Skarner drags you out of that Hextech ultimatum if you've dived onto the Scion. It's a really good way to start clearing quickly. It's another fast clearing jungler. And again, be a very reactionary force. If you overcommit into that stun from the E and then also have the R coming afterwards, very, very dangerous to Cabbage Family.
With the TF ban now completed, I am liking a lot more what we're seeing out of Bristol Whipped, who essentially have just got themselves a standard Sivir comp. Pop the Sivir ult, get the Skarner rushing in, grabbing themselves someone. Ethan with the CC for days. Absolutely love what we're seeing, and I want to see something for Chentang along the lines of a Kassadin or a Rise, a Cassiopeia, just one of those standard things that we associate so much with Chentang. It feels it would round out the composition so nicely.
I think this is a perfect chance, actually. Okay, so the Olaf's been locked in. That's a way to ignore the Skarner. I was actually about to say this is almost a perfect time to lock in a Trundle. Because if you lock in a Trundle, great against the Hyper Tanks, good against Skarner too. He pops his ult. If you pop your ult first, while he's squishy, he just immediately dies. And it's also a way to really force a lot of defensive abilities out of something like that. The problem is then you've also got the Lantern, which then nullifies the... Well, it lessens the effect of the Pillar. We are going to get the Dog Champ. Corgi locked in for Chentang.
Corgi locked in. That's close enough to Corgi for Hope to be happy. She is putting her paws down and saying she'll nibble away, and Bristol Whip are going to be taking the win. That's the top analysis coming in from Dog. We haven't got a goat here, so instead we have to turn to Nymera.
Not quite on that standard yet. We'll see. Give me a couple of years. I'll work on it. So Corki being locked in means there's a double poke from the Boomerang Blade and then rocket poke from the AD cat. Well, from the Marksman, because of course one is a magic damage carry from the side of Bristol Whips. They have themselves a range advantage. They have themselves a front line because they have themselves an actual tank as opposed to the Olaf, which is a bit more inconsistent on that front. I think that Bristol Whips have themselves the ease of execution. I think their 5v5 incredibly potent. I think the Orianna might struggle to get things going through the back line. That being said, Camille is in this game. Camille is versus a tank. If Camille starts popping off, much like, again, their win versus Bristol Whipped in the round robin, things get dangerous. You also have an Ashe with a Karma. Strong level 1 bot lane. That should get priority. Should be able to start allowing this Ashe to be a bit more mobile with that move speed too. Even Gregors can start carrying through this front to back style too, if it does get those leads down on their bot side.
I think this is a really fascinating matchup, and I think that the champ select has brought a lot to the table as well. Last time round, we saw in game 1 a composition quite similar to this, with only a couple of small changes for Bristol Whipped. You talked about how you liked it. I talked about how I felt the global pressure, especially out of something like Twisted Fate and the picks that could be found for Cabbage Family, would turn things around. That ended up actually being the case, and Bristol Whip struggled. I don't see that potential quite so much this time round for Cabbage Family. You touched on the Camille there, and I honestly think it's going to be down to Alpha Moss and Porp to absolutely carry this one home, because if the Camille and the Olaf don't get going, I don't see a world in which the Corki and the Sivir start getting picked off. And you saw in the last game what happens when Banuxas goes untouched.
That's true. You're not on a Jinx with that much safety this time, though, in terms of your range, right? Jinx, again, somewhat of a risky pick, but when you're on the front foot, you start getting that move speed, you clean up very well. Remembering back to, again, that game, which was on stream outside of this best of 3, Alpha Moss, again, did really well at using the extended engage range of the Camille to very decisively fly towards that mid lane. I think it was Chentang on Victor in that game. Corki has a bit more ability to get out of that kind of play. But I'm looking at Alpha Moss, I'm saying, yeah, if this Camille gets going, that is a very solid win condition for Cabbage Family.
Okay, gonna be asking you for a decision. You said 2-1 to Cabbage Family at the beginning of the day. Are you sticking with it? Ooh, he's thinking about it. I don't think I've ever seen Alex think before.
Yeah, that's that. I mean, I was getting myself a migraine thinking too much about it. I just turned my brain off. It's really difficult. I think I am going to give it to Cabbage Family. I think that were these other teams within Varsity, their nameplates off, I prefer Bristol Whip's comp because it's easier to execute on. And if a game comes to a 5v5, you're likely to have stronger front line and double marks, in which it gives you an X factor in that front.
I wouldn't
because
be on
it's
brand.
Cabbage Family, they have the ability to skirmish very effectively. Play around the Camille, who often does get ahead, has a good matchup. And I think that QR's Orianna is another X factor too. Been very, very good on that pick. Cut off a lot of different fights from a lot of different angles with those shockwaves. It's close though. It's damn close.
I wouldn't be on brand if I didn't disagree with you, but as there's no brand in the game, I think I'm actually going to say Cabbage Family perhaps do look ever so slightly better coming into this one. The team on blue side has won every game so far, has found themselves the draft to secure the win. If I were here to bet some of my hard-earned Twitch channel points, I think I would go Cabbage Family, but this is such a tight game. I have to agree with you. It's one to absolutely think about. Hope, remember, has predicted Bristol Whip, so if you're there in the predictions, popping the votes down and Bristol Whip lose, this is the face you have to blame.
Oh no, I wouldn't want to make that. Oh no, I wouldn't want to make that face sad.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, we're agreeing. You and me, Hope, we're agreeing.
Yeah, we'd never do that to her. So for those of you who don't know, we'll have a brief breakdown as we wait for the game to start up to talk a little bit about Hope. There's a lot of fantastic charities out there who do great work rescuing dogs, and Hope actually was over in a not so nice shelter in Romania, and this charity in the UK brought her over. I got to adopt her a couple of days before Christmas, and while she has somewhat eaten my sofa, I'm very, very happy to have her here, and her brother and sister who are in the next room, Thor and Loki, they're happy too. However, they're less happy about the fact that
I may get predictions wrong. I don't eat sofas though.
It's like one in the checklist for Alex.
Yeah, we're winning today.
But yeah, so Hope is here with us, and yeah, it's good to have her here. It's been nice during these particularly rough times of the last few months. It's a strange old place, the world right now, and to everybody out there in Twitch chat, I hope you're doing okay, and we're getting through it. I think we're starting to be able to see the sun through the clouds.
No, and I think it's one of the real pleasures of working with the Newell, and we have to take a step back from the pomp and posture of these series, is that we get to put on these events, you get to watch them, hopefully find some enjoyment out of them, we get to have some fun on cast too, and we get to do it together. So to all the teams, everyone watching, everyone involved, it is very special to have it in these times, and let's get the heck on with this game. It is going to be a banger.
We'll see if the form from the previous two games remains the same. We didn't have a single kill before 5 minutes just yet in this series. Maybe this will be the time things turn around. Maybe one of the two teams will look to take the early advantage in this crucial game by 5-man stacking up, but we'll only know once we get onto the Rift. Just as we wait to get onto the Rift, I will say a few thank yous myself, Namera, as you so rightly started off there. A big thank you to our partners, to Unite students, to Twitch students, to Logitech, who have helped us to be able to make this event happen. Massive thank you to everybody who has been running the tournament as well. Of course, Jimanti doing such a great job, and Patrick Pants Campbell has been our production. Our terrific other casters, Brackish Britt and Melvin Izzle, who have been absolutely wonderful in the weeks where you and I haven't had the opportunity to be casting. And yeah, frankly, it's just been a lovely team effort. The Newell's really a big family that I'm very happy to be part of.
Absolutely. Well, I guess every family has its infights every now and then if we have these Newell teams. Well, I mean, every week apparently on stream as these teams go at it. Maybe not the model to be following. But we will, of course, have the conclusion of this one arc of Newell's story. But there will be another chapter, a couple of chapters to come across, of course. DMU waiting for the loser of this game in the lower bracket. Waiting for them to see if they can take one of them to get best of 3. And honestly, with these 3 teams left remaining, I think that Newell has themselves... this Varsity, this split has been so stacked, so close. The fact that it's come down to these 3 teams, they've had to battle all the way to it. They have to prove now they've got what it takes to come and earn the title.
It's nice to see such a high level of competition here in the UK, not just in the Newell, but also in other leagues that that we're part of, and others which are going on. My question is, however, when we start getting towards UEM, whether or not we're actually able to see these teams really contest things. Something we're not seeing right now is Skarner able to contest their own blue buff. Porp stealing this one away right from underneath the Skarner's nose. Will also go straight up towards the Wolves, which is where Skarner's at right now. Will actually just take away the portal. The Axe almost able to steal away a Wolf for their trouble as well.
So what it looks like is that Porp is going to be able to run over blue to blue if they want and clear out their own side of the jungle, meaning that Gudonica doesn't get a steal away from any of the camps on Cabbage Family's side of the map. Of course, then the next question is what's going to happen with Scuttles, because there's a chance the map gets split. Actually looks like Porp is going to go straight over towards Raptors, finish off that camp instead of immediately heading over towards the top side of the map. Still, small advantage towards Cabbage Family, I suppose, getting that buff down early.
Yeah, it's a nice little show of intent as well from Cabbage Family. They've just come off the back of a fairly convincing loss, so to get themselves back in the ascendancy early on in this game certainly will be nice for them, definitely good for the mental.
And Alphamos, that is a very loud engine right outside my door. Wow, okay, well, it looks like everyone's getting their engines started over here. Two-way Q being hit on that boomerang blade from Banuxas. Wow, looks like the priority largely established for Cabbage Family across their lanes.
Slow start through the lanes. Small CS advantage coming in for Alphamos over Ethan. Unsurprisingly, he's going to connect onto Gregor's note this time around. Burns flash. Burns heal just about stays alive despite the Ignite burning them down.
Well, I think actually because of the accuracy of, again, those severe Qs, that suddenly became a kill trade. Yes, it's an ignite away from the Thresh, but Ash Karma should be the team, with the duo winning out on the poke wars. They're not landing it quite effectively enough, and Greg is the one now without summoners.
The nicely timed spell shield will stop the damage coming through from mostly Grumpy. Nibble doing some good work already. Always like to see this Thresh when it's picked up. And yet again, Nibble going aggressive, but maybe going just a little too aggressive. Trying to find the hook, but getting caught out by the Tether. Flashing away. Ignite burning Nibble down, looking for first blood. Flash away from the Karma as Skarner joins the fight.
Close run stuff in the 2v2. It's not where we've seen the most action this series, but Guernica makes their way down there. Now, there are no summoners in that bot side besides Bernuxas's Flash. In the top side, Alpha Moss getting a momentary advantage in that top side. Olaf was there to cover their wave state 2. With this bot side, looking at this wave, looks like Cabbage Family might get zoned out for a bit.
They are in a little bit of trouble. However, they still have got themselves a 300 gold lead on the back of CS advantages they're finding across the map. That early invade from Pop still paying off nicely for the jungler for Cabbage Family. Things, however, are certainly tied. It's a game of inches. In the last couple of games, I don't think we even saw proper fights, proper trades. Some of the spells burnt before 5 minutes. This time round, these two teams opting into the chaos early.
That they are. Of course, and you were talking about in terms of, in your experience of having a very large marquee matchup, particularly in a best-of series, you kind of get one of three options. One way, like, you get both teams kind of staring down each other and trying to play it a bit more slowly, and then you get ones which get a bit more frantic. This is one which seems to be a bit more on the frantic side of things as compared to the rest of the series, at least for this period in the game. Alpha Moss trading with the tactical shield. I'm trying to... Oh, no, the adaptive shield, this one. And oh gosh, the tactical sweep and all the other stuff. Hey, I just need to know the passive and QWER, right? Just get the order right, and that's normally okay for the Telecaster.
Everything for all, 150 plus champions, and if you don't, you're a real letdown for all of us. The tracking game is going to be a Cloud Dragon. Alpha Moss trading with Ethan, actually getting the worst of these trades now, as we do find Sion getting more and more of these grasp procs. So it's a tightly fought game, and you were talking about the potential scenarios earlier on, as we still see these trades continuing. Hookshot away from Alpha Moss to save their life. And I do feel like in both of those games, we had the more aggressive team being Bristol Whipped. However, the aggression paid off in one, did not pay off in the first game, however. So we'll see if both these teams have any kind of reset, any kind of changes with this third deciding game.
I do think that Bristol Whipped tempered their aggression in game number 2, though. They ended up playing a bit more around more solid win conditions, and they eked out advantages rather going for the really blowout plays, again, in the way that some of the more explosive teams in the Varsity have showcased on stream so often during this split. Cabbage Family, of course, not behind in... not behind... Oh, that's a big play!
Ethan goes aggressive but gets completely caught out. I'm not too sure what happened there, but Alpha Moss is going to be rewarded with a kill on the back of the teleport coming through.
So it looks like Pop stopped a recall maybe coming in from Evan on the top side. Alpha Moss teleports back at first. Blood to the Camille. That is really awkward now for Bristol.
Is going to connect onto Benux. That's not able to spell shield this one away. This is, of course, one of the things with having the double poke coming out of Gregors and mostly Grumpy. You might be able to spell shield a volley or a Karma Q, but you can't do both.
Fortunately not. So no teleport being used from Evan in the top side. So at least he's not using that global. Does mean he has it available with his ultimate for a play somewhere else on the map. And given how feisty the bot lane has been fighting, there is a chance that is the target of said global. Problem is, though, Alpha Moss has now got themselves a sizable laning advantage, managed to stay on the wave, deny another couple of minions, and of course have that first blood gold. It's Camille. Warning sirens now sounding in the ears of Bristol Whipped.
I'm disappointed in myself not quite picking up exactly how that fight went down, but I think it must have been similar to how you predicted. But with Ethan having Flash and Unstoppable Onslaught available as well, it feels like maybe this should have been... I see the mana.
He's out of mana, so we couldn't ult away. And then you think, okay, I'm against an Olaf who's going to keep axing me, who also, I think they used the, they used the Flash earlier into that game, but into the game so far. But yeah, Evan, I think looking at what he had available, because one thing is when they were trading in the wave, I was like, oh, maybe there's like a Flash W available from Evan. Just didn't have the mana. Focus on the wave instead, but then gets punished for it. Stays just a little too long. And that kind of punish can lead to such big incremental advantages in these games, particularly against a bad matchup like the Camille and how it's typically played into the Sion.
Trying to put the aggression down, but losing out on this fight will manage to stop the damage coming through from Decimating Strike. However, Ethan, who's caught out by the Hex Tech ultimatum, still able to find a slow, winning out in that trade, trading ultimate for ultimate. Meanwhile, Dragon was secured by Cabbage Family as they had enough prio on bot and mid.
So we see Guernica on the top side, but yes, that is traded, of course, for Dragon on the bot side. Herald now being alive adds another aspect to this game. So Cabbage Family do have themselves actually a pretty high Herald take percentage, but they don't have a very high first Herald percentage. They will occasionally take it, I think it's something like a third of the time. But across all Heralds in the game, they tend to just get the second one. Gunoga has Flash, has ult, maybe going for Alphamos.
Right in with the Impale knockup is flashed away from by Alphamos. Absolutely beautifully. Camille playing with fire, but not getting burnt this time round. Nibble going aggressive. Enchanted Crystal Arrow. What's question marks for Gregors?
I think what might have happened there is the old clicked on the mini-map and it flew backwards, particularly if their camera was in the wrong part. Either way, bit awkward. Not going to be able to control this wave. Civ are going to absolutely ricochet through that. Oh, Porp's top. There is a flash, but it's going to be a stun.
Instantly by Ethan, who's now trying to escape to the safety of their turret. And Ragnar rocking. Olaf will go straight into the turret, will look for the kill. However, may well give up their own life in response as Skarner comes in to make it a 1-for-1 trade.
Goes in very aggressively, kills the Scion. Again, they do have the teleport. They can reset to the wave at some point. But Camille still being the beneficiary of this all in all.
Big shout out. Our Twitch chat comment of the day goes to UK Shorty. Help! An Ash arrow just flew past my window.
It's like the Varus arrow from Season 5, and that's a hook on target. That one's not flying past your window, that's flying right into the bot lane.
Flash away with huge damage coming in. Gregor's flashing response. Mostly Grumpy picks up the kill. Nibble trying to trade one back on Gregor's flashing. Has the ignite burning, but it's not enough. Nibble takes the turret shot as well. Mostly Grumpy going to be able to find something. Chentag flashing away from a shockwave. Nibble trying to get out to safety, but gets caught by the root. The supportal combat continues.
Keeps going on, actually, with the ult Q. Okay, Lantern's back up. No kill threat. After that one goes down, kill in the bot side once again, going to Cabbage Family. Bristol whipped. They lost a couple of kills in that lane, particularly in that one Tristana versus Sivir matchup in the first game. But honestly, the 2v2 has been quiet between these two teams. It's been more about solidifying the bot side of the map to make sure that the rest of the map can play more aggressively. Not so much in this game. 10 minutes crested. It's a minor lead towards Cabbage Family. I think the problem for Bristol Whipped is that lead is mainly going to be on that Camille. Building up towards what looks to be that Triforce, has the Sheen, of course. Actually, no, it won't be the Triforce, I don't think, because they don't have the Hearthbound Axe in inventory. It's probably going towards the Divine Sunder instead. I believe that's how it ends up building out. More anti-tank potential. Cabbage Family having some advantages on that top side, which they can very much play around as a win condition.
Well, we've got another Dragon Spawn coupling this time. It will be Ocean, which means we're looking towards either Infernal or Mountain Soul, both exceptionally valuable. Someone, I believe it was Ravi Paris in chat, as soon as the First Blood went over to Alphamos, said, you know what? Alphamos' Camille with First Blood, that's enough to win a game. And right now, Alphamos is proving that it's certainly going to be something very difficult for Bristol Whip to have to deal with at the absolute least. But Nuxas, meanwhile, who played such a key part in Bristol Whip's victory in the last game, making mistakes, greeding for that turret play, getting caught out, losing both summoners, and losing any priority on bot side.
Does have a CS advantage though, so it's not like they're out of the game yet. And we saw what happened when, particularly on that Jinx, what happens when they did get to those couple of items. Heck, even in that first game, they fell behind in the Sivir momentarily, with still this point of power, even though that gold lead started to get racked up against them. Guernica going down towards the bot side, has Rapture again.
Arrow connects just as the Impale comes through. Death Sentence will catch onto the Khan, but Nibble is being burned down by the Ragnar rock and roll. Porp finds the kill onto Nibble. The Paw beats the Nibbler.
That it does. And, you know, I keep saying he has Fracture. No, well, yeah, technically he does, but the Impale is slightly more important. Gets right on top of Mostly Grumpy. Doesn't end up leading to the play, though. They start the play, and as it has happened so often in this best of 3, the responding team comes out with the win.
It's been the case so many times. The one game where it wasn't true for Bristol... I wish I could show you what had just happened. We'll come back to that one in a minute. Bristol Whipped, they found some absolute magic in the second game. However, right now they are staring down the potential of what happened in game 1 happening all over again.
They are, and looking up towards Porp, sizable lead in the jungle now. Has himself a level lead, CS, kills as well. Danica looking for those openings and has found few. Almost found one on top side. Alphamos' key timely flash away saved them from that. And then on the bot side, unfortunately, that second ultimate really didn't lead to much either. While all this is happening, got to also check in on that mid lane. Yes, Corki scales, but this Orianna is ahead. This is QR's Orianna too. Nibbles Thresh on the bot side of the map. Also under a bit of threat, but he'll walk away to safety.
Dragon, is spawning still a little early in the game for Baron. We heard the Greyhounds kicking up a bit of a ruckus. Basically, when I'm casting, I have to Thor and Loki out in the living room because they get a little loud. both of them put their paws up against that little blockade I have leading into the study. Literally, they fell over it like something out of a movie. It was wonderful. They came avalanching into the room, and we have been joined by the magnificent Thor on cast now.
Absolutely magnificent. Well, we started talking about various, mythologies earlier in the day. And, well, got ourselves a bit of that Norse from the Greyhounds. So Bristol Whips. Now, well, they tried to look towards top side, but Alphamos safely under tower. Kadunica now looking towards QR.
Looking, but Porp was there. The Oracle able to spot out Kadunica over the wall, throws an axe down, and straight away Skarner knows they're not able to go anywhere near that one. The CS lead for Banuxas is a considerable one that you mentioned earlier on, but Oriana developing a significant CS advantage over Corki. A level advantage has actually just been equalised, but still almost there for Porp, who had that early advantage, stealing away the blue buff from under Skarner's nose. It's a tight game, nonetheless. We are less than 2,000 gold being the lead, and we are 14 minutes into what is quite a close game.
Exactly, and well, we wanted this series to go the distance, and game 3 to be the close game of the 3, because of course it did end up getting snowballed back and forth. In games 1 and 2, first one towards Cabbage Family, second one, of course, towards Bristol Whip. Having the third one be even, I think this really allows us to showcase what these teams can both do. Spell Shield down, Slows coming in, dangerous for Banuxas.
Root flashed away from by the Sivir, who had no support from the Thresh nor the Skarner for a moment or two, and immediately Cabbage Family pouncing on Banuxas, overstepping a little again.
It was, and this is the problem when supports reset. What we saw was Gregors doing the 1v2 slightly, as mostly Grumpy was recalling on the Karma, and Banuxas with the bad wave state wasn't exactly in the best position to do so when Nibble tried to do the same in a desynchronized support time. When you do have desynchronized support backs, well, we're not going to talk about that. Flash in for Nibble.
Flash, play, box, all put down. Kadunica still wants this play to work, but this feels like an overforce from Bristol Whip. When have I said that before?
Well, it does get the flash away from Gregors, so it's flash on Nibble, but Gregors traded. Ult's traded too, but of course Kadunica still has that Impale. That gateway into the bot lane still shut from the side of Cabbage Family, not allowing the play to be made, and the game remains close, Stan.
It sure does. I feel like we're going to be saying that for a while, still waiting for that breakout fight. Something that has surprised me is just how well Efan's been able to play around Alphamos' Camille, considering that Camille got first blood. We see that very, very small CS advantage to the Scion. A good number of
return to the scene of the crime.
Knows that Gregors' flash is not available. Flash is forward, looks mostly Grumpy, finds the Impale. Banuxas puts the damage down. The Death Sentence will connect. The shielding comes in, but Banuxas finds the kill on to the Karma. Gregors now trying to escape on the Ashe, does get tagged by the pizza.
That's going to be the return gank. Finally working out for Bristol Whips. Made it a little hard in the first time, but eventually the force works out. I've taken a good trade onto Camille once again. He's actually managed to even up the CS advantage. Evan really making Alphamos work for this top lane matchup.
Trying to get damage down, will dodge away from the decimating as Ethan is going to get completely caught out by Porp, running to try and catch him out. Unstoppable onslaught. It's just too late to survive. The final axe being thrown out by the Norse god, and I don't mean my dog.
I guess that's, the axe throwing coming in strong from Porp. Hits him in the back of the, well, just straight in the back. Does take him down. Very closely played on the top side. League of Legends is often a game of inches, a game of a couple of 100 HP. Does hit 0 though. Evan goes into zombie form, can't clear out this wave. And while we've yet to see a really big team fight come to fruition, we had seen them by this point in the other couple of games, mainly because of the globals available. This game seeming much more balanced and much more around the lane ganks and the effects on those champions.
And I think that we're starting to see the effect that being in such a clutch match is having on both of these teams. I think we finally opted into both of these teams going for the slightly more defensive option, not wanting to make any crucial mistakes. Given that we saw those early trades, those early summons burnt, I believe the earliest first blood we've had in the series, we've now seen things settling down. In almost every other game, it's been averaging a kill a minute past the 5-minute mark. Here, we're 17 minutes in, and only 7 kills on the board. I do believe both of these teams just don't want to slip up, don't want to make a mistake that will cost them a grand final position.
And I think what's really been the telling point for me is the fact that the early kills onto the Camille haven't gone out of control. This hasn't led to turret plates for Alphamos. They haven't really had the Herald go down either, remember? Of course, that didn't end up slamming into any of those into that top lane turret particularly. So Alphamos is not just winning the game in the top side. I think a lot of that's come down to the way that Evan has been approaching trades on the side on the top side of the map. But Evan has been pushing in so heavily, he's almost taken down that turret on his lonesome. up there. He's not fell behind in CS. In fact, he recouped a lot of that early advantage away from Alpha Moss. Now we have ourselves a third dragon spawning. It's an Infernal Rift. Cabbage Family with the first two. This might be the first blowout fight of the game.
He's instantly teleporting to save the control ward that Bristol whipped and the pit. Bristol whipped, as a response, start the dragon up, wanting to secure what is the first Infernal Dragon, would be a third dragon. We've seen Herald already summoned, and in goes the Ragnarocking Olaf. However, they're not able to steal the dragon. They give up the shutdown. Crucially, however, that extra gold goes on to Nibble.
Goes on to Nibble, but you still take the extra dragon going towards Bristol Whipped. No soul point for Cabbage Family right now. Herald summoned in the mid lane, yet to be charged through, because I think that turret was already down. With the eye pop, is it going to go through? Okay, it does. A little bit of a chunk onto the mid lane inner turret. And importantly, Gregors didn't find his way up to that fight, was left on bot lane wave clearing duty. So Porp's like, all right, okay, best go in, see what I can get. Gets it down to about 200 HP with his own smite. Doesn't quite judge it correctly. It's going to be Bristol Whipped walking away with the advantage from that scenario. It's a good thing too, because of course, if Cabbage Family had that soul point looming over them, they would be forced to fight. And that means that Cabbage Family could give up those dragons if they really chose and allow this Camille to get an advantage on the side lane. As it stands though, again, much like the story of this third game has been so far, very, very even across the board.
That was such a cagey situation as well. I feel like as you saw the teleport come in from Ethan, you called it, Nightmare. You said this could be it. This could be the touching paper having been lit, and all of a sudden, this game could be exploding. But all we really saw was Porp try to go in for a steal, giving up a shutdown. The very fact there wasn't any more of a commitment from Cabbage Family to take that fight, to make it even more chaos, kills going one way or the other, says a lot about how they're playing this game.
Oh yes, Porp was saying, oh yes, I'm going in for a steal. It's a cagey situation. I'm going to go steal the Declaration of Independence. It's national treasure. Bristol Whips, however, deny him that opportunity, and the movie ends very, very shortly after it began, unfortunately. Porp dies too, as that's really not what you want if you're the side of the Kent University team, Cabbage Family. And for so long in this split, they have been the team to beat, and they're going to take themselves a fight. Teleport's coming in. It looks like a big one.
Instantly flashes away from Alpha Moss. Alpha Moss in turn has to flash away. Enchanted Crystal Arrow connects onto Gadunica, but I believe safety had already been accrued for Alpha Moss. With the Baron having just spawned, any pick now could be fatal for either of these teams.
Absolutely. In this meta, in this season, we have seen so often that early dragons can, early barons rather, can absolutely be taken, particularly when you have a tank, particularly when you have such high damage from the likes of a double marksman composition, or on the other side, you know, a scaling mage and another marksman of your own right. It just seems like teams are able to take early barons. So any fights, as you were saying, particularly around that area of the map, they can either lead into a turnaround fight where you kind of take a pick, you go onto the baron and then you peel off of it, or of course take the objective itself. A lot of pressure now on both these teams to make the correct decisions. And again, one of the storylines we set up for them, these teams are both very synergistic. They're teams which have been together for a long time. They have that experience. Getting towards the top end of this new game, towards the finals, though, you need to showcase that once more and say that actually, you know, yes, you have that factor too, but we're the team which is going to prevail today with that experience.
Porp lurking around. Gadunica could get caught out here. We do see Ethan coming down towards the bottom half of the map, so a certain amount of safety for the Skarner. I feel like we've talked a huge amount about Alpha Moss and Ethan on top side. I feel like we've talked a huge amount about Porp and Gadunica and as the junglers. Both bot lane duos, they've had a huge amount of chat as well. QQR and Chentank have been almost anonymous in this game so far. Only 1 kill participation between the two of them so far. However, both of them are playing on such important champions. Chentank, when they hit their power spikes on this Corki, puts down obscene amounts of damage right now. Orianna, as we all know, a shockwave can turn a fight. Even though so far they've been noticeable by their absence, QQR and Chentank could still hold the keys to winning this game in their hands.
Absolutely. I actually wonder if this should have been a Leandri's game from QR, but I think that having the Ludens, particularly for the extra movement speed, just when you get that proc, you do get a burst of movement speed to be able to maybe outpace someone like the Skarner's trying to run on top of you. That could be life or death for this mid laner. Building it towards the Seraph's Embrace that second. In fact, gets that now. The burst coming in from the high AP, because of course Seraph's gives you AP depending on the amount of mana you have. Ludens gives you mana, and of course running from mana flow band means you just get a huge amount of AP. That all funnels back into your Ludens passive again, so the pop when you get your full combo will be threatening a one-shot onto the likes of Chentang and Benuxas. Of course, if Benuxas doesn't get that spell shield coming through. So what I'm looking for is not necessarily the tank shredding potential coming out of QR, though, you know, Orianna does have that scaling potential. But particularly onto that backline, if it does manage to reach them, we're just with the edge of that shockwave, Benuxas and Chentang, they will absolutely be in danger.
one crucial difference to the last time we saw this play about 5 minutes ago, and that is that vision has been put down and cleared out by Cabbage Family very, very effectively. They have completely taken over the Dragon Pit area. Bristol Whipped will be face checking. They will be coming into all sorts of awkward situations if they walk through their own blue side jungle.
Couch Family get themselves river control. No wards in the river from Bristol Whips. They do have themselves a Scion to ult into the play, but whoa, Gadunica's way too deep there.
Goes in, but immediately has to come out with the Thresh Express. Ifan on the other side is going to find the stun onto Alpha Moss. However, the health bars have been shredded crucially on the jungler of Bristol
Shockwave.
Whip. While Shockwave connects on Gadunica again, the Thresh lands and taking them to safety. Flash forward from Morb, not quite enough to secure the kill. Chentang having to use the package defensively. Alphamos taking a lot of damage from the rockets, but Ethan is caught without a soul to help them. Flashes themselves away, tries to get out to safety as Alphamos continues the charge. But Nuxas putting down damage with the Sivir, but Porp still healthy enough to take the fight. Gregor's also going forward, poking down with the volley. Dragon now has been started. Ethan, Nibble, and Gadunica all still... Gadunica's gone back to base. This is going to be the third Dragon now going over uncontested on the back of a frantic fight that led, shockingly, yet again, to no deaths, and it could be finally a kill coming through as Nibble does get slightly caught out, looks for the blast code, takes Alpha Moss with them, flashes away. Alpha Moss looking to find the sweep. He comes in, this time is able to find the impales, but he's going to die before they're able to drag them into their own team. Corp goes absolutely monstrous, finds a double kill, finds a triple kill, may have just found the game-winning play from over-aggression from Bristol Whipped.
Gadunica on the, well, pretty much on the receiving end of the entire DPS of Cabbage Family throughout both of those engages. Escapes with the first one because of Nibble's Lantern. Second one, not nearly so lucky. Does get that impale down. It's not enough to secure a kill. And with those kills going down, I don't think Cabbage Family can maybe take this round. They're actually going to start it up, but they will certainly force the hand of Bristol Whip once more.
Confident they've got a teleport coming in. Camille will join from around their own mid turret. However, already Karma slightly called out. Arrow dodged away from
Chentang.
And can't survive this one, surely not. They are dead to right. Alphamos finds themselves another kill. The Sovereign Onslaught comes in from Ethan as they try to find multiple knockouts, but it's just not happening. All Ethan and Chentang are able to do is delay the potential Baron going down. Gadunica is now present to get the control ward down. However, 2 kills are conceded for stopping that Baron.
And only Fan is left alive towards that top, well, was left towards that Baron to try and look for a contest. It's not nearly enough. Of course, Chentang trying to pick up mostly Grumpy, just doesn't expect Alphamos to be in the brush, and Alphamos just takes his head off with a clean sweep with a light of the knife legs. Now 2-0 and 5, of course, not even up towards that second item. Whoa, okay, he actually has no teleport. This could be a misstep from Cabbage Family now.
Bristol Whipped, they start things up but immediately stop again, realizing they just do not have the damage and the threat is too great. If they make a mistake there, they instantly will forfeit the Baron, possibly even the game. Tell you what, Alex, this game, it had been brewing up for a while. It was waiting for one person to step up and be a hero, and my God, Porp did that in a big way.
Absolutely, because it was Gadunica trying to do that on the other side, and you can understand why, because at some point you just have to say, screw it, we have no vision, we're not going to get it, but we can't just give over these objectives for free, because giving over Soul Point means that, well, we don't get to choose our pace of the game from this point. We will forever be needing to go into that Dragon Pit for that fight in case that the Soul is going to be taken. It would have been even worse if Porp had got that earlier steal off, but no Nicolas Cage shenanigans going on from that point in the game. But it was just too aggressive. It was into too many people, and particularly QR with the Shockwave at the end of it, forcing Gadunica in such low HP. Prove that this burst build even is affecting this front line. Wow, Cabbage Family have themselves now a very dangerous position in this game. Question is, how can they turn the screws? How can they leverage this into the full series win and book themselves a second final, well, actually a third finals in a row. Remember, they were there in summer too. They won summer, second place in winter, looking to get a third final in a row.
Answer me an important question. What is your favourite Nicolas Cage film?
I would actually say, which one's the one with Jared Leto? Is that Lord of War? That one's pretty good. I actually very much like that.
Oh, is it Lord of War? God of War's the game, Lord of War's the movie.
Yeah, that one. Otherwise, for Meme Valley Wicker Man, let's go.
Okay. Oh, man. I prefer the original Wicker Man by so much, though. That's the thing.
But did it have, oh no, not the bees, anything but the bees? You too can now play Yumi, Malzahar, or those other champions, and cosplay your own Wicker Man movies in League.
For me, it's always going to be Face Off. I'm a big fan of that one. But Meanwhile, we have to turn our attention briefly, however, back to the Rift. 4,500 gold lead built up by Cabbage Family. They're the ones who are looking to clear out vision, especially around this Baron. In a minute, we are going to see another Infernal Dragon spawning. It would, as you just said a moment ago, provide Infernal Dragon over Cabbage Family, Infernal Soul if Cabbage were able to secure it. Bristol Whip feels like they are they're very much playing against a clock now until Cabbage Family are able to secure it.
An important thing is that every member of Cabbage Family, besides Porp, has paid their tax towards Skarner. Of course, Olaf, I don't know, he has some loophole he can get through. He's probably on the Cayman album, something like that. He has his ultimate, has the Ragnarok. Doesn't need to pay any taxes for that damned Impale. Doesn't need to get rid of that suppression. With anything but his ultimate ability, you're not going to be able to get on top of QR and bring them into the team unless you get something to force that QSS first. And that's exceedingly unlikely because you don't have really a way towards that backline besides something like a Flash. Skarner coming through, unless there is a huge misplay coming out from one of these Cabbage Family carries, team fights are getting that much more difficult. And I know that it's several thousand gold away from Cabbage Family as a team, but it's still relevant stats, relevant functionality. Skarner is looking hard-pressed to find openings now.
One thing I like here for Bristol Whipped is they've done what they did 2 dragons ago and set up reasonable vision, kept control, stopping Cabbage Family from getting vision down too early. However, they're immediately being forced back. They know now they are slightly, well, considerably behind in this game, and they're playing a lot more cautiously. The dragon has now spawned. Gregor's, of course, with the Enchanted Crystal Arrow available.
This is the fight for finals.
Fight up. Gadunica is going to start the dragon up, forcing Cabbage Family's hand. In goes the unstoppable onslaught from Ethan. Alphamos trying to find good damage.
Sure.
Is going to go absolutely massive, finding 1 kill. Alpha Moss trying to jump straight on Chentown, but meanwhile Enchanted Crystal Arrow is going to connect onto Gadunica. This is still going to be a potential smite fight for this dragon. It's down to 5,000 health. Ethan and Chentang, having taken down 2 of the opposition, would force a 5 versus 3, which surely means that yet again Cabbage Family are able to delay this soul coming through. Gadunica, however, letting this dragon reset somewhat. They want to pick up kills as well as the dragon. They're also worried about Porp, who has a 2-level advantage over Gadunica. Porp forced to flash away. The box put down by Nibble. The dragon secured by Gadunica. Left so long that Alpha Moss's respawn has come back into the fight courtesy of the teleport. Goes straight in, finding aggression onto Nibble. Both of the support, both the Grumpy finding the opposition support. Ethan trying to run away, but caught by the sweep. Will look for the knockup, not going to find it before being stunned. Gadunica will go aggressive, but a double kill comes in for the support of Cabbage Family. But now Cabbage Family have to turn tail and run.
Close fight. Bristol Whipped are not going to be outdone just yet. Get themselves another dragon, delay the soul once again. Important factor in that was Chentang getting right on top of QR. You're right, there is actually a Baron Star. Well, I think it was actually looking to just be ward clears. No, actually, no, QR straight going towards it. But where's their tank? Can they get this down quick enough? Is it going to force Bristol Whip to set hand again? Yes, it is.
This is horrific for Bristol Whip. Gadunica has not recalled, is down below half health. Alphamos is looking for the zone, is looking for Chentang, has not got the ultimate available, but still chasing.
Got him.
Finding the kill onto the person who did so much damage in the last fight. Gadunica takes the lantern out to safety. The Baron was stopped briefly. Cabbage Family can return their attention to it once more, and this time they'll have their jungler at full health on hand.
So in the first fight, Bristol Whip pounce on the missed position of QR, but this is the level we're playing out with both of these teams. You show that opening, things go south very, very quickly. Cabbage Family, yes, they get outdone at that dragon fight, but they are not going to give that up too easily. Go straight towards the Baron yet again. Chentang does have himself the teleport, but look how quick that goes down.
Already down to the low half, and Gadunica's caught on the wrong side of the Krug wall. Will look for the potential for
the Hex Flash
over the wall. Will go straight into the pit. We see the Enchanted Crystal Arrow thrown straight down on the Gadunica. This is going to be a fight to the death, and it is going to be won by Cabbage Family. They take themselves 2 kills. The Baron going lower and lower, still being leashed by QQR. It's going to be 2 quick kills. Alpha Moss presenting any kind of steal from Nibble. That's going to be the Baron secured by QQR. Banuxas trying to put damage down onto Alpha Moss, but here Nibble turn tail and run with only a red buff for their efforts. Cabbage Family get the Baron on 5.
Now, if that isn't the heist of the split, I don't know what is. 5 Baron buffs. That's exactly what the doctor ordered for the Cabbage Family. It turns out it's a cabbage a day that keeps the doctor away. And Bristol Whipped, they just can't hang in there with the tempo of the game. Cabbage Family dictate the pace of the game, and they force the engage from Bristol Whipped. Evan buys up time. The Shockwave catches both of the people in the pit, though, even though the Hex Flash managed to get Gadunica in there. It's just not enough for the side of Bristol Whipped to come out with any kind of clean fight. They don't get a steal, and now for the next couple of minutes, they will have to play to the beat of Cabbage Family's drum.
Now, Mary, you know this as well as I do, but it bears saying this is a best of 3 top bracket final, so essentially a semi-final. Imagine what it's going to be like this time next week on a best of 5 final, and whoever ends up being in that one, it'll be one of 3 teams. One of the teams that you see here, and then either the other team or DMUT1 who have found themselves that position in the losers bracket final, winner of which comes up into the grand finals next week. A tightly contested affair tonight. I'm sure it will be next week as well. I'm already excited for that, but now we have to turn our attention back to this game.
So Sivir, huge amounts of farm, lots of gold funneled into Benuxas, has 3 items as compared to just the, well, I mean, technically 3, I guess, if you add up the Last Whisper and the QSS together, but does have a lot more damage into the front line than, as we saw, Ash into someone like Evan. This Sion is becoming a relevant front line. Even though they're 1 and 6, they're buying up so much time. Question is, can they defend their structures? Ain't looking like it right now. And Gadunica, once again, as we were saying, really not in a position to flash in for impales because there's way too many QSSs involved.
One thing I massively respect from Cabbage Family is that when they have a lead, their macro seems to be excellent in terms of how they then go about winning the rest of the game. We've seen them miss out on Soul a couple of times, but even so, it feels very much like they're now the ones with a death grip around this, around the neck of this game. The package is now going to be available. There's less.
Here they have a really good drummer, Death Grips.
Nearly just under a minute until another dragon will spawn. Package is available. That itself could be crucial. But look at that line of 1s on Bristol Whip. There's not a single individual with more than 1 kill to their name. No person who can say is anywhere near as fed as, let's say, an Alphamos with 4 kills, a Pork with 7 kills. Screw it. Mostly Grumpy with 3.
Yeah, and looking at the Moonstone Renewer, and again, the high level of these supports, because it has reached the late game now, mostly Grumpy will be very impactful, be able to spam out the shields time and time again. Nibble is often looked towards now on this thresh to be the person starting something off the pick at the start of things. If you can get away a QSS, it's worth so much, but can you get away some health bar from Gadunica? The quick sidestep, this is just a quick chunk.
It amazes me how little health we see on Gadunica. Like, it feels like that Skarner should be so much more tanky, but already we see a good chunk ripped away. That is going to be getting caught out by the hook, but I don't think that the Ragnarok's going to worry too much about that. Ethan finds a knock-up onto 2. Good damage being put down by Benuxas and Chentang. Chentang goes aggressive, however, QQR flashes in response, forces out the stopwatch, but Benuxas finds the kill onto the top laner of the opposition. QQR with the sombrero find if the kill onto Chentang, but Port being run down. But
Benuxas
looking undead form. Nibble still helping out with the shields. Gadunica and Benuxas going absolutely massive.
They've done it!
For the Sivir, quadra kill coming in. It's going to be the ace for Bristol Whip out of nowhere. They secure themselves an ace. They secure themselves a turret. They'll probably secure a dragon. Can they get any more than that?
It's just a Sivir comp, baby. 6, 2, and 2. Benuxas will give Bristol a lifeline in this game. They're actually going for something more. They're not going towards the dragon. They're trying to find as much as they can out of the base of Cabbage Family.
Gadunica tanking, keeping as many minions healthy as possible. At least the inhibitor is going to go down. We've still got 5 seconds until Alphamos comes back to life. This should potentially be enough time for Bristol Whip to turn their attention back towards the dragon, but there is a teleport on QQR. There is a teleport on Alphamos.
This is the danger now. Lots of low health bars. I think if Alphamos goes in, there's a good chance they die to this Sivir, though. This teleport coming from Evan, I think this is once again extended the game. The game goes on, Stan.
The game goes on. 36 minutes in, and I do not have a Scooby who is going to be winning this game. The next point of focus will be the Baron spawning in 1 minute and 20 seconds time. The gold lead has been sliced in half. It is now only just under 4,000 gold. Cabbage Family, I was just praising their macro. I was just saying how rarely they let slip a lead like this. And I've cursed them. I've cursed them, Nightmare.
Absolutely have. We just forgot there was always the win condition of, oh yes, there's a Sivir in the game. 3 Infernal Dragons, 4 items and a stopwatch. Benuxas is ready to turn, burn, and steal away this game from an almost, it seemed like an impending doom in this series. They're trying to book themselves another final for themselves, of course, haven't been there since spring of last year. And they're trying to do it with all their might because, gosh, they're really playing their hearts out.
Nymera, 30 seconds until Baron spawns, and look down the sides. Look at the summoner spells for everybody. There is a flash available for Nibble and a teleport available for Chentang and a hex flash for Gadunica. There is a teleport available for QQR, an ignite available for Mostly Grumpy. No other summoner spells in play. This is just going to come down to who executes on what their individual champions can do best coming towards this fight. Greg is securing themselves the red buff, but this is buying time just as the Baron spawns for vision to be gained by Bristol Whipped.
This could all come down to a single shockwave, a single hook, a single any piece of damage really coming in onto one of the squishier members, given the amount of damage on someone like the Camille. If they get a Q2 onto someone like the Sivir or the Corki, yeah, that could be them having to flash out. If you get a huge Sion knocker, that could be the CC, which leads into everything else. What the problem is now is that Bristol Whips, you've been winning some of the grouped up fights. Do you win in a base race in a side lane? Alpha Moss trying to take it to Alpha Moss on the bot side.
This is so bad. Cabbage family, they know that Ethan doesn't have teleport available. Alpha Moss can join at the moment's notice at the Baron. The same cannot be said for Ethan. There is Chen Tang coming down with the with teleport available, but they're not going towards the bot side. Alpha Moss can just continue this split push. This game is absolutely going to the wire.
And this is when we need to talk again about the veterancy, about the experience of both these squads. They probably both know what's on the cards here at this point. You know that the Sun can wave clear, but they have to make sure that they keep the wave away from the turret. Gadunica is going towards the Baron. I think he'll be there in time, but he gets hooked down quickly.
The Baron is going down so fast. Gadunica still not present. We're going to see Porp trying to secure this one with the smite. We are going to see Gadunica arriving. The question is, will Alpha Moss be able to join the fray quickly? Porp going low, dodging away from the death sentence from Nibble, but getting caught out by so much damage from Benuxus that the Baron has to be stopped. I thought for a moment that was the play for Cabbage Family, but they couldn't burn the Baron down fast enough.
It looks like Benuxus actually popped the Sivir ult to get them there in time. Evan actually doesn't manage to keep this wave away from the turret, so Alpha Moss is going to take a chunk out of it. He does have some sustain now, but he's going for a big... Oh, that might be a mistake.
Never mind a chunk out of the turret, takes a chunk out of Ethan as well, able to rip through the health bars with that Sunderer. Gregors, however, has now been sent back to the base to deal with the Supermins coming in from that deleted inhibitor. Suddenly, Bristol Whip to the ones with the pressure. This game is so back and forth. Chentang coming to deal with Alpha Moss's split push. I like this considering they have the teleport.
They picked up the package to another team fight tool. If you can get that on top of the Ashe, on top of the Orianna, that could be it. Sivir burning through the Baron.
Gregor's got spotted in the mid wave, and straight away the go button was pressed by Bristol Whip. They've taken this Baron down to half health, as you say, but Nuxus ripping through this one. Lantern brings Chentang to the fight as well. Baron's going down, he's going to be secured by Bristol Whip. They find themselves a crucial objective. Porp looking for a fight on the back of it. However, I think that we're going to see Bristol Whip getting out with the Baron in tow.
Oh, Alpha Moss still trying to take something out of this turret. He keeps chunking it, but now, wait, that's a Sivir ult. Pup, they're going for him.
Straight away, Alpha Moss throws down Hextech Ultimatum, but has been caught out. Stays for far too long, and the team with Baron now on the 5 versus 4 power play. Remember, they've already downed the inhibitor in mid lane.
Oh no, it's just the miscommunication and the quick decision-making from Bristol Whipped. This is going to be Alpha Moss now respawning pretty much on the dot of the Infernal spawn for the Dragon. This one, of course, would be sold for either team. Alpha Moss does have teleport, though.
3 seconds. That is how long there is between the respawn of Alpha Moss and the the Dragon coming up. Crucially, the Dragon comes up before Alpha Moss. This is the opportunity Bristol Whip needed. They have taken the gold lead down to only 2,000. Gold is basically irrelevant because we are 40 minutes into the game.
We are, I mean, I think actually we're just seeing Sound going back, wave clearing yet again. Teleport, looking for priority, looking for anything. Porp is getting shredded.
Porp gets caught, uses Ragnarok to get away from the Impale. Both of the junglers lose their ultimates. Dragon has now spawned. We are about to see Alpha Moss coming back to life, but the Dragon's already been started. There is going to be a control ward in the pit. Gadunica looking to clear this one out as we see the teleport coming through. Dragon down to 5,000 health. Porp already zoned away by losing so much health. Ethan manages to zone Orianna. Dragon going lower and lower. Out of nowhere, has been secured by Bristol Whip. They've got the Baron, they've got the soul, they're looking for the fight. Gadunica goes with the chem tank, finds QQR, looks to get the stun, manages to find the stun. Alpha Moss with the knockup. Porp not able to find the damage in the backline. Ethan's already managed to pick up a kill, and Chen Tang takes down Porp. Nibble survives by a fraction of health, dodges away from the enchanted crystal arrow. Alpha Moss, Gregors, mostly grumpy, are the last bastion of hope for the Cabbage family.
Oh, they're just not quite able to control that area of the fight. Bristol Whipped in the late game have come alive, and they want to see Cabbage family be slightly less alive. Flashing for that's huge damage.
He finds the Valkyrie, he finds the damage, he hits the big one! He takes out Gregors! He just won the game for Bristol Whipped!
One shot. Well, I mean, a couple had to go in, but this final one lands. Chentang gets the kill.
He gets the kill, he gets the victory. That is going to be your grand finalist, Bristol Whipped, overcoming all the odds to reverse sweep Cabbage family. What an absolutely incredible game.
Well, if game 1 didn't make Cabbage family sweat, games 2 and 3 turned up the heat massively more so. welcome your finalists. It's not going to be Cabbage Family just yet. They will have a second chance, of course, versus DMUT1, a rematch of the Winter Finals in the lower bracket. But Bristol Whipped will be waiting for them in the finals.
Wow, Bristol Whipped yet again will be in a grand final. Will they face DMUT1? Will they face Cabbage Family? Time will tell on that one. However, all I know for sure is that is one of the most epic comebacks we've seen in recent times. My question to you is this, and I'm not going to go as far as saying brutal honesty because I think it has to be phrased tactfully, but was that an incredible comeback from Bristol Whipped? Or was that a bit of a throw from Cabbage?
It's always a bit of both, because, I mean, something that we often refer to together, right, is forced and unforced errors. And we use that as the tennis analogy, of course, you yourself having some tennis coaching on your repertoire, of course, one of the things you do a lot of. I think that Bristol Whipped did a really, really good job of forcing errors. They made sure that they had to be putting spells into Gadunica, into Evan, instead of into someone like Benoxus. And Benoxus has often been, as we said, not really the main carry of this team. This game, this series, that Sivir did absolute work. Cabbage Family, yes, maybe you could have played the macro a bit cleaner. Maybe you could have communicated when the team was heading away from Baron towards that bot side. That seemed to be when a lot of things fell apart for them. At the end of the day, of course, you can blame it on whoever you want. The score was on the doors. Bristol Whip going to the finals.
Came down to 5 words that you said. It's just a Sivir comp. And in the end, Sivir comp does what Sivir comp does. And it was incredible. That being said, I want to say that I said Chentang or QQR, one of them was going to come up big with some kind of game-winning play. That Valkyrie forward into Rocket, into Flash, into Big One, taking out Gregors, ending any potential defense that maybe Cabbage Family could have had. Absolute game changer as well. Everyone on Bristol Whip should be proud. So should everyone on Cabbage Family, because in any great final, such as the one that we've just seen, unfortunately there does have to be a loser, and it can only be a great final if it was a closely contested affair. And that was one of the closest we've had in a long time. I wish Cabbage Family the best of luck up against DMUT1 on the losers brackets finals. I also wish luck to DMUT1 as well, because one of those two teams will have to go up against Bristol Whip, a team who must be absolutely flying high. Alex, I'm going to ask you for the MVP out of that best of 3 series.
Oh, gosh. It's
So
always a hard ask. I think it has to go to Evan, actually. So often he's been the carry player. But in this game, if that against any other player in Varsity, that first blood onto Camille often seals the game. In game 2 when he was on the Cho'Gath. That Cho'Gath was the game-deciding pick. Yes, there were other things which happened with Cho'Gath. Whenever he was in the fight, effectively just ended things. Particularly in game 3, though, presence of mind, and even going... I know he went 1-7. I know he had a bit of a crap KDA, but that is the most impactful set of tank games I've seen in quite some time. That doesn't mean it wasn't close with the other MVPs. I just think the presence of mind and the mental fortitude it takes to have that playstyle, go down early and come back with that kind of resilience is something absolutely to be praised.
Wow, what an incredible series. That was just a taster of what we will be bringing you next week for the grand finals for the Null's League of Legends Spring Split. Next week it will be decided who takes home some of the most amazing prizes out there in the competition scene for League of Legends. Also, who will be our representatives going towards UEM in the summer as well. However, that is our lot for tonight. Really, really incredible games. Again, massive thanks to Unite students, to Twitch student, and to Logitech for being our partners this split. Huge thank you to Patrick Pants Campbell on production, and to everybody who has been involved in making this show work and to make this tournament run all the way through the split. Thanks to you, Alex, Nymera Rapgood, and I have been Stanley Greyheart Barker. I will see you next week.
Oh.
Truth.